Chapter 370. Guilt Immortal City. A spacious and elegantly decorated manor house. The door of the manor was wide open, and spirit beasts and vehicles entered and exited from the manor. Manager Zhao, our firm has already shipped this batch of goods. This is the handover list, please take a look. A foundation-building cultivator dressed as a wealthy businessman stood in front of the fat monk surnamed Zhao, who was also dressed as a wealthy businessman, but who was actually a disciple of the Shadow Palace, smiled and cupped his hands. Good talk, good talk. The disciple of the Shadow Palace surnamed Zhao took the list in the hands of the wealthy businessman, checked it, and after confirming it was correct, he nodded and said, "Brother Yu, the bill is good, we have both the money and the goods, and we hope to have the opportunity to cooperate again next time." Sure. The wealthy businessman on the opposite side smiled and gave a thumbs up. In this gilded immortal city, who knows that you, Manager Zhao, do business with unparalleled integrity? Where? The disciples of the Shadow Palace surnamed Zhao waved their hands again and again. Shopkeeper Zhao, the younger brother of Yufenglu, is the host tonight, and I also ask the shopkeeper Zhao to honor him. Hearing this, the disciples of the Shadow Hall surnamed Zhao waved their hands again and again. How can I let you spend money on Brother Yu? I have to invite you this time. Brother Zhao, is this looking down on you? The rich businessman surnamed Yu feigned anger. I have to invite this meal. Seeing the other party's resolute tone, the disciple of the Shadow Hall surnamed Zhao smiled and cupped his hands. Okay, please, please. I'll be there on time tonight, and we won't stop getting drunk. Okay, don't get drunk. The wealthy businessman surnamed Yu glanced at the group of clerks under manager Zhao who were busy, and said, Then I won't bother you anymore, Brother Zhao, you are busy first. Okay, Brother Yu, walk slowly. Watching the other party leave, the disciple of the Shadow Palace surnamed Zhao breathed a sigh of relief. As the Shadow Palace's most important dark sun lurking in the gilded immortal city, in Zhao Cheng's memory, the impression of Qianyuan Jianzong has gradually blurred. Had it not been for the Shadow Palace to issue a secret order this time, activate his dark sun, it is very likely that Zhao Cheng will be lurking in the golden immortal city. But this time, the Shadow Palace actually issued a secret order of the highest level to him, and asked him to completely obey the cultivator who came to connect with him. Just started. Zhao Qing still doesn't know what the holy place is, so that the Shadow Palace can issue such a high order. As a result, the moment when I saw Qin Zhan, Zhao Qing was almost dumbfounded. He came from an intelligence background, so he was more aware of how high the status of the Zhenhai Palace Lord in the Qianyuan sword sect was. Say no exaggeration. According to the information Zhao Cheng has learned, the strength of the Zhenhai Palace Hall Master Qin Zhan can be ranked among the top 3 in the entire Wangxinghai, and his position in the sect is only under the Qianyuan sword sect. In the sect, except for a few people, such as Lin Wuzhenjuan, the master of the refining hall, Hu Yanqi, and the third elder, Yi Yin, who can compare with them, the other hall masters and elders are all shorter than the Zhenhai Hall. Including the hall master of their Shadow Palace, compared to Qin Zhanlai, the hall master of Zhenhai Palace, his status is also a bit lower. To allow this big man to come to the Golden Immortal City in person, Zhao Qing realized that something big must happen to the Qingwei Daoist faction. The hall master of Zhenhai Hall personally went out, and naturally it was impossible to deal with a small gilded immortal city. His goal is definitely the Qingwei Taoist sect that is thousands of miles away from the golden immortal city. As for the gilded immortal city, it is just a temporary foothold for the other party. Have to say, although Zhao Cheng learned very little information, the intelligence he analyzed was very close to Qin Zhan's real purpose. If Qin Zhan knew about it, he would definitely give him a thumbs up and praise him as insightful. Seeing the monk surnamed walking away, the disciples of the Shadow Hall surnamed Zhao greeted a group of qi cultivating buddies loudly. Everyone work harder. Yes, the shopkeeper. The crowd joined in. Just when the spirit beast car was busy in and out, another group of people walked towards the side door of the manor. Perceiving something vaguely, Zhao Qing raised his head, and when he saw what the pedestrian was wearing, his heart twitched. Qingwei Taoist disciple. Although his heart was shaking, Zhao Qing greeted him with a flattering face. Walking in front of the disciples of the Qingwei Taoism, Zhao Qing bowed his body and kept bowing his hands. I don't know that the seniors of the Qingwei Taoism are here, and the juniors are welcome. I hope you will forgive me. Who knew that the Qingwei Taoist disciple who was headed by him heard this, but a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth, and then he said in a relaxed tone. Zhao Qing, stop pretending, we are disciples of Yuyue Palace. Hearing this, Zhao Cheng's heart suddenly tightened. As a disciple of Qianyuan Sword Sect Shadow Hall, of course he knows the Yuyue Palace of Qingwei Taoism. Unlike Qianyuan Jianzong, the Qingwei Taoist faction has two major intelligence agencies. One is the Yuyue Palace dedicated to internal affairs, and the other is an external intelligence agency specially established by this sect master Yi Tianqi, Wuying Palace. When the disciples of Yuyue Palace came to the door, Zhao Qing knew very well that he was exposed. Although he knew that he had been exposed, Zhao Qing still showed a look of bewilderment on his face. The seniors of the Yuyue Palace, I don't know what the juniors have done, do you want to help the seniors to drive? Zhao Qing, lurking in the Golden Immortal City 54 years ago, if I guess right, you should be a member of the Shadow Palace. The headed disciples of Yuyue Palace stared at Zhao Qing and said coldly, you people in the Shadow Palace are too arrogant, and they dare to sneak under the eyes of my Qingwei Taoist sect. Beside him, another Yuyue Palace disciple reminded softly, Senior brother, don't forget our mission. Hear this reminder. The disciple of the Yuyue Palace, headed by him, finally calmed down. He took a deep breath. I am here today to send invitations to you Qianyuan Jianzong. Invitation? The expression on Zhao Cheng's face was slightly stunned. Zhao Cheng was even more dumbfounded after receiving the invitation from the disciples of Yuyue Palace. Because the inscription on the invitation was actually Yi Tianqi, the suzerain of the Qingwei Taoist sect. The sect master of the Qingwei Taoism sent an invitation to the Qianyuan Sword Sect, and those who did not know it must think that the Qingwei Taoist sect was engaged in some conspiracy. After all, Qianyuan Jianzong and Xianqing Dao League are fighting to the death and death on the front line of Izumo. The two sides are now meeting with each other, and they are very jealous. How can they give each other an invitation? But Yi Tianqi went down. I have to say that this move really made Zhao Qing somewhat incomprehensible. Also, the sect master asked me to tell me that my Xianqing Dao League not only invited you Qianyuan Sword Sect, but also invited people from the three sects of Linghuogu, Tianyanzong, and Qianji Temple. Having said that, the disciple of Yuyue Palace turned around and left. Etc. Zhao Qing raised his hand. Seeing everyone turn around, Zhao Qing said solemnly, how did you discover my identity? Humph. No comment. The people who watched Yuyue Palace leave. Zhao Qing couldn't hold back his madly beating heart any longer, and with a flash of light, he flew into the manor. Inside the manor. In front of a spirit lake. Guzhua Qinzhan looked at the invitation card in his hand, and the expression on his face was very exciting. Interesting, interesting. Qinzhan laughed, actually invited us over directly. Zhao Qing stood aside, he didn't know whether Qinzhan was referring to us, the three sects of Linghuogu, Qianji Temple, and Tianyanzong, or Chen Daoxian who he was ordered to take over a few days ago. After thinking for a while, Zhao Qing swallowed his saliva and said cautiously, Palace Master Qin, what should we do next? Qinzhan looked at Zhao Qing and found that although the other party was nervous, he was not flustered, so he nodded secretly. This kid has a good heart. You know, this is the base camp of Qingwei Taoism. His identity as a disciple of Qianyuan Sword Sect was discovered, and it was not easy to maintain such a calm attitude. Especially since the other party's cultivation base is still so low, and only the foundation stage, which is even more rare. Thinking of this, Qinzhan couldn't help but feel a little love for talent, and asked with a smile, how do you think this matter should be handled? Qinzhan's words immediately stopped Zhao Qing. He frowned, And after a long while, he cupped his hands and said, "This disciple thinks that since the Qingwei Taoist sect invited me to the Qianyuan sword sect in front of the three sects, we must go. Otherwise, it would seem that my Qianyuan sword sect is afraid of them." At this moment, Zhao Qing seemed to have made some kind of decision. "However, Hall Master Qin, your status is precious and it is not easy for you to personally take risks. This trip can be done by your disciples to see what medicines are sold in the gourd of the Qingwei Taoist sect. What our sect has lost is just a disciple of the foundation building stage, while the Qingwei Taoist sect will lose its reputation in the northwest frontier of Xianyun continent. In this way, my Qianyuan sword sect still made a profit. Hear this." The smile on Qin Zhan's face suddenly subsided. He looked at the foundation building disciple in front of him and said solemnly, "No, you are wrong." "No. I don't know what the disciple said was wrong." Zhao Qing was a little nervous. "The loss of you and the loss of the reputation of the Qingwei Taoism is the loss of my Qianyuan sword sect." Hearing this, Zhao Qing felt his throat congested, and he couldn't help but feel the urge to die for his confidant. Seeing that Zhao Cheng's eyes were slightly red, Qin Zhan patted the other party's shoulder and said with a smile, "But you are right about one thing. Since the Qingwei Taoist faction invites us in an upright manner, we can't help but go." After speaking, Qin Zhan paused. "Zhao Cheng. The disciple is here. From now on, I order you to return to the sect as soon as possible, and pass this news to the sect without delay." "This." Zhao Qing looked hesitant. "You want to resist?" Disciple dare not." Zhao Qing quickly lowered his head. Seeing that Zhao Qing was still unmoved, Qin Zhan stared. "Why are you still standing there? Hurry up." "Oh." Only then did Zhao Qing come back to his senses, and with a flash of light, he flew out of the gilded city. Although there is a forbidden space in the City of Gold, it is obvious that at this moment, the City of Gold has received a special order to lift the forbidden space for Zhao Qing alone. Zhao Qing didn't turn his head, and flew quickly towards the outside of Jinjingxian City. Even if the strength of Qianyuan sword sect has some advantages over them, it cannot form a situation of complete crushing. At this point of consideration, Qin Zhan was even more unable to apply for Zhongmen assistance. He must show the weakness of Qianyuan Jianzong and the strength of Xianqing Dao League in front of the three major sects. Only in this way, the three major sects will share the same hatred with his Qianyuan sword sect. But at the same time, Qianyuan Jianzong must show a certain strength, otherwise, let the three major sects stand in front alone. I am afraid that the three major sects will not be willing to take the lead. Qin Zhanghua felt that the true monarch of his world and Chen Daoxian, the top true monarch, should join forces to allow the three major sects to recognize the strength of Qianyuan sword sect. Only Qin Zhan didn't know that the Qingwei Taoist sect actually invited people from the Xianyang sect. Quiet indoors. Chen Daoxian knew nothing about the outside world. At this moment, he was completely immersed in the thrill of the rapid increase in strength. In front of Chen Daoxian, the two swords Feishua and Qingying were completely integrated, and they were no longer separated from each other. Seeing this, a look of surprise appeared on Chen Daoxian's face. "The sixth order array mage is really extraordinary. My newly created Tiangang sword array actually made the fusion of air and water laws soar to 100%. And the power of the formation of the Tiangang sword formation has not been fully released. Think of this." Chen Daoxian once again looked at the comprehension stars that were less than 100 miles in diameter in the Sea of Consciousness, and secretly said, "Maybe I can understand the third law." Chen Daoxian was completely ruthless. In the Sea of Consciousness, the comprehension stars turned frantically, and the consumption of comprehension stars suddenly rose a step. At the same time, Chen Daoxian's comprehension also soared. 100 times of comprehension, 110 times of comprehension, 120 times of comprehension. 200 times of comprehension. As comprehension increases, Chen Daoxuan's thinking became more and more active, and everything in the world suddenly became traceable in his eyes. He even suspected that if he kept this state, maybe he would be able to fly straight to immortality. But obviously, the comprehension stars simply can't stand such crazy consumption. With a 200-fold increase in comprehension, Chen Daoxuan's comprehension at the moment, even if it is compared with the Mahayana true immortal, can only be humbled. The original window paper, with the blessing of 200 times the comprehension, was broken through in the blink of an eye. In the sea of Dantian Qi, an invisible wave swept across the entire Dantian, and then, a new fire light lit up on the star kendo map. It is the fire sword intent. With 200 times of comprehension, Chen Daoxian not only comprehended the fire xing sword intent, but also rushed to the second realm of star transformation in one fell swoop. Before Chen Daoxian was happy, a tingling sensation came from the sea of consciousness. Chen Daoxuan's consciousness sank into the sea of knowledge, and found that the comprehension star that was originally suspended in the sky of the sea of divine light, only a small star core was left, which was constantly revolving around the golden scriptures. At this point, all the comprehension stars Chen Daoxian had accumulated in the true immortal origin realm were exhausted. The tingling sensation from the sea of knowledge just now is the golden scripture reminding Chen Daoxian that if he continues to consume the stars of comprehension, he will fall to the second level of the Hongmeng enlightenment scripture. Chen Daoxian has been practicing so far, and he has finally raised the Hongmeng enlightenment scripture to the third floor, and naturally it is impossible for it to fall. So he quickly stopped the consumption of comprehension stars. Resisting the tingling sensation from the sea of knowledge, Chen Daoxian recited the Hongmeng Enlightenment Classic silently. After a stick of incense, a stardust of comprehension floated over the chosen star core around the golden scriptures. After accepting this comprehension stardust, the star core lit up slightly, and continued to revolve around the golden scriptures as if there was no change. Seeing this scene, Chen Daoxian knew that if he wanted to restore the star core to the appearance of the former comprehension star, relying on daily accumulation of comprehension stardust would not work at all. Only by relying on the chaos qi in the Jiyuanzu. Shaking his head and throwing away the distracting thoughts in his mind, Chen Daoxian silently recited the Hongmeng Enlightenment Classic, naturally not to accumulate stardust of comprehension, but to eliminate the tingling sensation in the sea of knowledge. Sure enough, after reciting the Hongmeng Enlightenment Sutra, the tingling sensation in the sea of consciousness completely disappeared, and the consciousness returned to an active and full state. Now that fire xing sword intent has not only succeeded in comprehension, but has also directly reached the second realm of star transformation, what Chen Daoxian has to do next is to fuse it with the fire attribute immortal sword. Then, with the help of the fifth-order high-grade fire attribute fairy sword, it will be promoted to the high level of the law realm in one fell swoop, so as to achieve a leap to the sky. Chen Daoxian called out the star sword Dao map, and then took out an immortal sword with cyan flames. It was the fifth-order high-grade fire attribute flying sword he got from Jinyuanjinjuan. In the star's kendo diagram, a bit of fire flew out of it and slowly merged into the fairy sword glowing with blue flames. Soon, Gu Yen the orange flames merged into the fairy sword glowing with blue flames. Like the Feishua and Qingying double swords at the beginning, this immortal sword with cyan flames began to blur a little after it was integrated into the fire sword intent, and finally rushed directly into the star's kendo diagram. When Chen Daoxian looked at the star's kendo map, a huge celestial body exuding cyan flames appeared next to the light blue stars and diamond-like stars. Seeing this scene, Chen Daoxian knew that Huixing Jiani was directly promoted to the law realm, and it was still being promoted. The first stage of the law realm, the middle stage of the law realm, and the high stage of the law realm. After half an hour, driven by the fifth-order high-grade fire attribute flying sword, the fire sword intent was directly promoted to the high level of the law realm, becoming the third law of the high level of the law realm that Chen Daoxian comprehended. Out! Chen Daoxian called out softly. Next moment, The transparent Qingying sword, the light blue Fei Shui sword, and the cyan unnamed Fei Jian all flew out of the star's kendo map and appeared in front of Chen Daoxian. Chen Daoxian looked at them one by one, and finally turned his attention to the cyan unnamed flying sword. You have been flashing blue fire, let's call you Qing Yan. Qing Yan seemed to understand Chen Daoxian's words, and the blade trembled slightly, making a crisp sound. To give a good name to the immortal sword embodied by the law of fire Xing, Chen Daoxian did not forget the last step, which was to separate the fourth mind and integrate it into the Qing Yan sword. Because only in this way, Chen Daoxian can forcibly fuse the three laws of air, water, and fire with the help of the power of the Tiangang sword formation. It's just that Chen Daoxian doesn't know to what extent the heavenly astral sword formation created by his sixth-order low-grade formation technique can integrate the high-level Tao laws of the three laws of air, water, and fire. Generally speaking, if you combine the high-level laws of the three types of laws into 50%, you can choose to break through to the sixth level of the Tao realm, the world realm. I want to break through to the world. In the first step, the cultivator has to fuse the high-level laws of the three laws together, and the fusion degree exceeds 50%. In the second step, the cultivator uses the fusion law as the foundation and integrates it into the cultivator's Tao domain. At this point, the Tao domain becomes the world, and the fusion law is the foundation of this world. From then on, cultivators can be born in the realm of one thought and perish in the realm of thought. In this way, it can be called the world realm. After the cultivator reaches the world realm, with the expansion of the world, the Tao law integrated into the world is no longer limited to the high part of the law realm, and can continue to progress. Of course, no matter how the Tao law progresses, the cultivator must remember that the fusion degree of the law must not be lower than 50%, otherwise the world will collapse. No matter how big the world is. Therefore, after the cultivator breaks through to the world, the progress of the Tao law is very important, but it is more important to keep the integration of the law at least 50%. A month later, Chen Daoxian carefully controlled his diamond-like thoughts and slowly merged them into the Qing Yan sword. After integrating into his mind, Chen Daoxian could feel that Qing Yanjian seemed to have become his new body, and he was no longer separate from him. Of course, this is not the point. The reason why Chen Daoxian wants to integrate into his mind is to display the Tiangang sword formation and forcibly integrate the three laws of air, water and fire. Previously, Chen Daoxian had tried, and the two laws of air and water had been able to be 100% integrated with the blessing of the Tiangang sword formation and the mind. However, Chen Daoxian can clearly feel that the power of the Tiangang sword formation is far more than that. Therefore, he did not count the consumption of comprehension stars and forced to comprehend the third sword intent. Now, everything seems to be going well. The newly comprehended third fire Xing sword intent not only reached the law realm, but also reached the high level of the law realm like the two laws of air and water. The only thing Chen Daoxian was looking forward to was how far these three laws could be integrated. Think of this. He summoned Fei Shui and Qingying double swords again. Washed by such a huge amount of the power of creation, the cyan spirit armor began to tremble wildly, and the aura on its body also skyrocketed again at a speed visible to the naked eye. Just a few months. Chen Daoxian was promoted to his own life spirit armor twice in a row. It has to be said that the power of good fortune he invested in the spirit armor is more than the power of good fortune on all immortal swords combined. But Chen Daoxian knew that the investment was worth it. Otherwise, no matter how high his Tao realm is, without enough mana support, it will be empty after all. The 19 bottles of the power of creation have all been poured out. Chen Daoxian's 5th grade high-grade power spirit armor has become a 6th grade high-grade spirit armor. Even if Yuanchen Daojun sees this kind of spirit armor, he will be moved. But at this moment, it appeared in the hands of a Jindan cultivator. The next day, Chen Daoxian repeated the previous action again, and with the help of Wanyan stalactites, he frantically instilled mana into the 6th grade fortune-telling white lotus. Blink of an eye. 2 months have passed. Chen Daoxian poured mana into the 6th grade Good Fortune White Lotus for 2 months, only to be able to infuse it to 90%. Just when Chen Daoxian wanted to continue pouring, he found that the 10,000-year stalactite in the jade bottle had been consumed by him. See this scene. Chen Daoxian took a deep breath, closed his eyes and recited the Hongmeng Enlightenment Sutra silently, and then opened his eyes again full of energy. It's time to leave the customs, Qingwei Daoist, I'm here. Chapter 372. Boom. With the heavy retreat, the stone door of the quiet room opened. A white figure walked out slowly from the quiet room. Quiet outside. An equally white figure stood with his hands behind his back, waiting quietly. Going out. Qin Zhan glanced at Chen Daoxian, nodded and said, yes, the cultivation base has been promoted from the 1st level of Jindan to the 8th level of Jindan, breaking 2 small realms in a row. Xingyuan fruit is well deserved. Hearing this, Chen Daoxian immediately bowed his hands to the other party. Thank you for the gift of the treasure from Hall Master Qin. Hearing this, Qin Zhan waved his hand. Your cultivation base and strength improvement will also help us in our next actions. I'm not just here to help you. Having said that, Chen Daoxian knew that he really owed Qin Zhan a big favor. Whether it is 2,300 drops of the power of good fortune, or the holy essence fruit that can quickly improve the cultivation of Jindan cultivators, they are all rare treasures. But Qin Zhan just gave it to himself without any conditions attached. Such kindness, Chen Daoxian could not help but keep it in his heart. Although Chen Daoxian borrowed the 2,300 drops of the power of creation, he could see that Qin Zhan had no intention of asking Chen Daoxian to repay. Perhaps in Qin Zhan's view, when the true immortal origin realm and his party came, he obtained the Avenue stone tablet containing the laws of space from Chen Daoxian, and owed Chen Daoxian a great favor. These 2,300 drops of the power of good fortune and Xingyuan fruit are his repayment of Chen Daoxian's favor. As for Qin Zhan's promise to use Tai Shinshui to repay Chen Daoxian's favor. In the end, this matter is still uncertain. Even Qin Zhan himself has no certainty. He will definitely be able to win the Tai Shinshui from the Qingwei Taoist faction. In Qin Zhan's opinion, the best result is to destroy the Tai Shinshui together with the Tai Immortal Pond of the Qingwei Taoist sect, and in the end no one can get this treasure. Not only him, but even the 3 major sects of Spirit Insect Valley, Tianyanzong, and Qianji Temple, I am afraid that is also considered. It is much more difficult to forcibly the Tai Shinshui from the Qingwei Taoist faction than to destroy the Tai Shinshui by accident. Of course Qin Zhan understood this simple truth. Actually, the order his senior sister gave him was only to destroy Tai Shinshui and Tai Immortal Pond, not to it away. Even, Fei Qinxue had prepared the imperial bell that destroyed Tai Shinshui for Qin Zhan. The Emperor Yu Bell is not a growth fairy weapon like the Star Kendo diagram and the 6 Paths reincarnation banner. It is the Zhenzong fairy weapon of Qianyuan sword sect. Its power is far greater than the Star Kendo diagram and the 6 Paths reincarnation banner in Qin Zhan's hands. Normally, with Qin Zhan's late Yuaniing cultivation, he couldn't use this fairy weapon at all, even if his Dao realm reached the world realm. However, Emperor Yuzhong has been sacrificed for hundreds of years in the hands of concubine Qinxue, and even in the hands of the previous sect master of Qianyuan sword sect, it has been sacrificed for countless years. After so many years of sacrifice and training, it was barely enough for the monks to ignore their cultivation and use the Emperor Yu Bell for a forcible action. And this is the biggest trump card of Qin Zhangqing's trip to the Wei Dao faction. Qin Zhan looked at Chen Daoxian and nodded secretly in his heart. Chen Daoxian had a record of fighting against top true monarchs before. Although he lost to the palace master of Yuyue Palace, in Qin Zhan's view, he was already infinitely close to the level of top true monarchs. Chen Daoxian's strength was infinitely close to the top true monarch with his cultivation base in the early stage of Jindan. Now from the early stage of Jindan to the later stage of Jindan, the strength will inevitably rise to a higher level, completely entering the top real monarch level. Although a top true monarch cannot change the overall situation in the future, it can be regarded as a big help for Qin Zhan who is alone. Take 10,000 steps back. Even if Qin Daoxian didn't play a big role in the battle between the two sides, at least he could run away with him after using Yu Huangzheng's mana to run out. Qin Zhan knew that Qin Daoxian was not only proficient in the laws of space, but also possessed a treasure like Michin Banner, and his ability to escape was absolutely top-notch. Seeing Qin Zhan looking at him, Qin Daoxian nodded slightly to the other side. He didn't know that Qin Zhan had regarded him as a trump card to escape. Qin Daoxian was also thinking of joining forces with Qin Zhan to kill the quartet in the Qingwei Taoist faction and the Tai Shinshui to build a foundation for Qin Xianhe. This is. Qin Daoxian took the invitation from Qin Zhan and frowned slightly. An invitation from Yi Tianqi, the sect master of Qingwei Taoism? Qin Zhan nodded. Yi Tianqi not only invited us, but he also invited the three major sects of Linggu Valley, Qianji Hall, and Tianyinzong. The strength is not weaker than Xianqing Daomeng and my Qianyuan sword sect. Hear this. Qin Daoxian was vaguely aware of the thoughts of the Xianqing Dao League. In the view of the Qingwei Taoist faction, instead of waiting to be attacked by the major sects, it is better to openly invite invitations to the major sections. As a result, the major sects will not necessarily join forces under the taboo. After all, the above-mentioned 5 major forces are not very friendly to each other. Especially Qianyuan Jianzong and Qianji Temple. Qianyuan Jianzong and Xianqing Dao League fought a war for more than 400 years in Izumo, and Qianji Temple sold puppet beasts for more than 400 years behind Xianqing Dao League. Speaking of which, Qianji Temple is definitely half the enemy of Qianyuan sword sect. However, Qianji Temple does not admit this. In Qianji Temple's view, it is just a normal business transaction that sells puppet beasts to Xianqing Dao League. It did not mean to be hostile to Qianyuan Jianzong, and even the Qianji Temple revealed to Qianyuan Jianzong that it wanted to sell puppet beasts to Qianyuan Jianzong. It's just that the other party's shameless idea was rejected on the spot by Qin Shui, the concubine of the Qianyuan sword sect. This also brought the relationship between the two parties to a freezing point. As for Tianyinzong, it is closer to Qianyuan Jianzong. Hu Yanqi, the master of the refining hall of Qianyuan sword sect, not only had a close personal relationship with the sect master of Tianyan sect, but also had a lot of cooperation in the aspect of refining arrays. Many new instruments created by Qianyuan Jianzong's item refining hall are supported by Tianyinzong's technology behind the formation. As for the Insect Valley, Qin Daoxian didn't know much about this sect. According to the information from the Shadow Palace, the Spirit Insect Valley is very similar to the ancient sects that have the heavenly venerate transcendence. Generally speaking, the monks in the Spirit Insect Valley seldom operate outside their sphere of influence. In fact, when Qin Zhan went to the Spirit Insect Valley, he was not sure that the other party could come to the Qingwei Taoist sect. He just had the idea of giving it a try. Don't see clearly that the Wei Dao faction has sent an invitation to the Insect Valley, but with Qin Zhan's understanding of the Insect Valley, it is very likely that they will not come to this muddy water. That is to say, this time, there are only 3 major sects, Qianyuan Jianzong, Qianji Temple, and Tianyinzong who will definitely be able to come to the Qingwei Dao School. It is hard to say whether Spirit Insect Valley will send someone here. After pondering for a while, Qin Daoxian raised his head and said, "It is an enemy or a friend. After we attend the banquet of the Qingwei Taoist sect, we will be able to see it clearly." Makes sense. Qin Zhan nodded. A few days later. The Qingwei Taoist sect is thousands of miles away from the Golden Immortal City. This day, the protective formations of the Qingwei Dao sect were all open, and the entire Qingwei Dao sect, all the disciples of the foundation building stage and above, all lined up in the air to greet them. Waiting for the arrival of people from the major sections. Senior brother, You said that the sect is holding such a big battle this time. Which big person is it going to welcome? Could it be that it is not meeting which Yuanshan Daojun? In the eyes of the disciples of the Qingwei Taoist sect, they are a well-known force in the borderlands of Xianyun continent. Unless the primordial spirit Daojun comes in person, ordinary monks are not worthy of such a big battle. When the senior brother next to him heard the words, he shook his head and said, I don't know, but the deacon said that there are a lot of big people coming this time. It's fine if we do our part. For other things, the suzerain and the elders will naturally worry about it. Guao, brother taught me. The disciple quickly lowered his head. The two of them just finished speaking. In the horizon, a five-colored phoenix, pulling a cart, flew over. The speed of the five-colored phoenix flapping its wings seems unpleasant, but in the blink of an eye, it flew from the sky to the Qingwei Taoist sect. At this time, a chorus of singing resounded through the sky. Welcome. The Holy Maiden of the Insect Valley is here. Not long after the people from the Spirit Insect Valley came, another chorus of singing followed. Welcome. The Lord of the Thousand Machines Palace is here with his sect disciples. Welcome. The sect master of Tianyanzong is here with his sect disciples, finally. The singing of the harmony revealed an air of slaughter, and the Jindan cultivator who was in charge of the harmony stared at the two cultivators who were flying fast. Welcome. Qianyuan Jianzong Zhenhai Palace Hall Master and Qinzhenren are here. Although this Jindan cultivator hated Qianyuan Jianzong so much, he finally did not lose the face of the Qingwei Taoist sect and the Xianqing Taoist alliance in front of the major sections. Qin Daoxian and Qin Zhan walked side by side. The disciples who quickly passed through the Qingwei Daoist formation stopped in front of the Xianqing Dao League true monarchs headed by Yi Tianqi. Since seeing Yi Tianqi and others, Qin Zhan's face has not been very good-looking. Because he discovered that the suzerain of the Xianyang sect, Wu Sheng, the true monarch of Xinhua, was standing next to Yi Tianqi, the suzerain of the Qingwei Taoist sect. To know. Both the Xianqing Dao League and the Qingwei Dao faction assembled heavy troops to fight on the front line of Izumo. At this time, the sect master of Xianyang sect was neither in the seat of Xianyang sect nor on the front line of Izumo, but appeared in the Qingwei Taoist sect. What does that mean? It means that the Qingwei Taoist faction is ready to give up Izumo completely. Do you want to choose to keep Tai Shinshui as a last-ditch effort? Qin Zhan stared at Yi Tianqi, who had a feminine temperament. Seeing Qin Zhan staring at him, Yi Tianqi nodded towards Qin Zhan with a smile on his face. Are you Qin Zhan, the master of Zhenhai Palace? It's you, idiot. It is rumored that the Qin Palace master is the most talented monk in the history of Qianyuan sword sect, and now it seems that the rumor is true. Unexpectedly, Palace Master Qin was so young that the Great Dao realm reached the sixth world realm. What? The world. Hearing this, not only the many true monarchs of the Qingwei Taoist sect, but also the nascent soul cultivators from the Spirit Insect Valley, Tianyanzong, and Qianji Temple all looked at Qin Zhan with incredible eyes. Although there is only one realm difference between the Law realm and the World realm, the gap between the two is so large that it is unimaginable for outsiders. Generally speaking, although there is a huge gap in strength between top true monarchs, it is easy for one top true monarch to defeat another top true monarch, but it is difficult to kill the opponent. Because most of the top true monarchs have condensed indestructible real bodies, and they all have fifth-order high-grade spiritual armor body protection, with the blessing of various means, the defense of the top true monarchs has reached an incredible level. Even if the strength of this top true monarch far exceeds that of the other, he can only suppress and defeat him, and cannot kill him at all. If you want to kill a top true monarch, in addition to letting your own law attack break the enemy's law attack, you must also let Yu Wei break the two layers of defense of the fifth-order high-grade spirit armor and the immortal body. So count. Even if it is a top true monarch with a high level of two laws, and the fusion degree reaches 100%, a top true monarch with a high level of the previous law and a first level of the rule, and the fusion degree is only 50%. can't do a complete kill. At most, it can only achieve a crushing defeat, but it is difficult to kill. Unless the top true monarch is courting death himself, he takes off his 5th order high-grade spirit armor and fights the enemy recklessly. Otherwise it will never die. But this by no means includes the top real monarchs in the world. If there is a true monarch nascent soul whose Tao realm reaches the world realm, then it is not to defeat the opponent, but to completely kill an ordinary top true monarch. In theory, someone like Palace Lord Yue, who is at the bottom of the top true monarchs, will definitely die if he encounters Qin Zhan one-on-one. Although the world realm and the law realm are only one realm apart, the two are completely two worlds. Really? After hearing that their sect master had revealed Qin Zhan's Tao realm, everyone in the Qingwei Taoist sect took a step back unconsciously, and looked at Qin Zhan with vigilant eyes. Only the Qingwei Taoist sect master Yi Tianqi stood abruptly in front and faced Qin Zhan. Qin Zhan glanced at the Qingwei Taoist true monarch Yuaning, snorted coldly, and said, "Didn't sect master Yi also reach the world realm?" "Different." Yi Tianqi shook his head and sighed, "I have practiced for more than 2,500 years, and you? If I read correctly, your practice has only been less than 500 years at most." Boom. This sentence completely exploded everyone's emotions. 500 years. A late nascent soul monk who has practiced less than 500 years. Not only that, this nascent soul cultivator has also reached the 6th world realm of the Great Tao realm. At this moment, everyone only felt that they had cultivated for 1,000 or 2,000 years and had cultivated into the dog. An indignant mood suddenly brewed in the hearts of everyone. The eyes of the other 3 true monarchs of Yuaning looking at Qin Zhan also became abnormal. A monk who has practiced for less than 500 years, has reached the late nascent soul, and the realm of the Tao has reached the realm of the world. What step will he take in the future? Yuanshan period? It's a must. None of the cultivators present would doubt that a cultivator who can cultivate to the late nascent soul stage in 500 years, and whose Tao realm has reached the world realm, will not be able to break through the barrier of the primordial spirit stage. But, is the Yuanshan stage the limit of Qin Zhan's future? I'm afraid not necessarily. For some unknown reason, a terrifying answer poured out of everyone's heart: heavenly venerate transcends tribulation. In this borderland of Xianyun continent, there is actually the seed of a heavenly venerate transcending tribulation lurking. Just when everyone was excited and could not calm down for a long time, Yi Tianqi looked at Chen Daoxian next to Qin Zhan again. "Are you Chen Daoxian?" "Exactly." Chen Daoxian looked indifferent. Yi Tianqi nodded. "If it is said that Hall Master Qin's talent is only shocking to this seat, then your talent is to make this seat terrified." "I'm right, fellow Taoist Chen." Yi Tian stared at Chen Daoxian intently. Chapter 373. What? This. As soon as Yi Tianqi's fear was spoken, everyone was in an uproar. The holy maiden of the insect valley on the side, wearing a pure white gauze, her pretty face was covered by a layer of magic weapons that looked like clouds, making it difficult to see. When she heard that Yi Tianqi was terrified of Chen Daoxuan's talent, she couldn't help looking sideways at Chen Daoxian, her beautiful eyes showing a thoughtful look. As for the Qianji Palace and the sect master of Tianyinzong, they frowned and their faces were full of puzzled expressions. They had never heard of Chen Daoxuan's name before. In the past, the top experts in the Wangxinghai that they knew were only Qin Zhan, Fi Chengse, He Yanqi, Lin Wuzhenjuan, and so on. I have never heard of the character Chen Daoxian in Qianyuan Jianzong. It was not until the battle between Qianyuan Jianzong and Xianqing Daomeng that Chen Daoxuan's name gradually became known to outsiders. With Jin Dan Xiu as the late-stage monk of the reverse slashing of the Yuaning, Chen Daoxuan's record almost made Jinjuan Yuanying, who knew the inside story, startled. Crossing one big realm plus two small realms, beheading true monarch nascent soul, this kind of record, let alone in the borderlands of Xianyun continent, even those ancient sects with transcending tribulation heavenly venerate do not necessarily have this kind of peerless achievement. Tianjiao. The eyes of the sect master of the Thousand Machines Palace flickered. In this way, this Chen Daoxian is indeed of extraordinary talent. But, that's all. No matter how talented the Jindan cultivator is, he cannot make the sect masters of the three major sects accept it. Even if Chen Daoxian was able to kill the Yuaning cultivator, it was the same. Not to mention Yi Tianqi, the top true monarch whose Dao realm has reached the world realm. In Yi Tianqi's eyes, even ordinary top true monarchs would not be in his eyes. In his eyes, only the top true monarchs who also reached the 6th level of the Dao realm, and the Yuanshan Dao monarchs who are one level higher than him, can be regarded by him. As for Chen Daoxian, at most, he was just a genius who surprised him, but it was not yet Yi Tianqi's turn to take matters into his own hands. This is evident from Chen Daoxian's crazy attack on the logistics transportation line of Xianqing Dao League, and Yi Tianqi's personal shot. Tai Shinshui is about to be born, on the one hand, on the other hand, it is because Chen Daoxian is not worthy of Yi Tianqi's personal shot. But according to Yi Tianqi's current statement, this is obviously not the reason. Hearing the crowd talking, the palace master of Yuyue Palace on the side had a calm face. Others may question Chen Daoxian's strength because of hearsay, but as a top true monarch who has personally fought against each other, the palace master of Yuyue Palace knows that Yi Tianqi never exaggerated. If this son is not removed, he will surely become a serious trouble for the Xianqing Dao League and even the surrounding major sects in the future. But she knew that if she said these words now, she would definitely be ridiculed. A mere Jindan cultivator who is comparable to the true monarch U.S. infant, how strong is it to threaten the major sections? Which sect present, not having hundreds or even hundreds of nascent soul true monarchs, would be afraid of a small Jindan true monarch? This kind of joke is really not funny. Seeing the disapproval expressions on everyone's faces, Yi Tianqi smiled and said, "Do you think that this seat is really just afraid of Chen Daoyu Jin Dawn record against the Yuanying true monarch? Is not it?" On the side, the sect master of Qianji Temple raised his eyebrows and held his hands in an interesting way. "Sect master Yi, if you invite us here, it is just to show us the threat of Qianyuan sword sect and to provoke the relationship between the various sects. You can stop." Seeing the sect master of the Thousand Machines Hall is so straightforward. Yi Tianqi smiled and said, "Brother Qian, don't be impatient. Yes, I am indeed explaining the threat of Qianyuan Jianzong to you, but this is definitely not to provoke your relationship, but Qianyuan Jianzong has this kind of threat. Strength." After speaking, he paused. The talent and strength of Hall Master Qin, Brother Qian, and everyone can see it for all to see, given time, let alone the primordial spirit stage, that is the realm of transcending tribulation heavenly venerate, and Hall Master Qin may not be able to step into it. As for Dao Yu Chen next to him, the talent is even more terrifying. According to my investigation, Dao Yu Chen has practiced for less than 50 years, right? What nonsense! Hearing this, the sect master of Qianji Temple has not opened his mouth yet, and the sect master of Tianyan sect, who has a good relationship with Qianyuan sword sect, could not help but stand up and say, "You can kill a late nascent soul cultivator in less than 50 years of cultivation. Do you think Chen Daoyu is the reincarnation of a true immortal, or do you think we are 3-year-old children and let your Xianqing Dao men be deceived?" Ha ha ha. When the sect master of Qianji Temple saw that the sect master of Tianyan sect was angry, he immediately rubbed his palms and laughed. It seems that the Xianqing Dao alliance is really desperate, and they are willing to tell such a lie that can be broken with a poke in order to divide the major sections. Chen Daoxian was indeed not well known before, and everyone was not interested in an unknown monk. But this time, Chen Daoxian used Jin Dan Xiu as the late-stage monk to slash the Yuaning, and he has already been on the focus list of the major sections. I am afraid that in a few years, the detailed information about Chen Daoxian will appear in front of the high-level officials of the major sections. The Xianqing Dao League is now telling such clumsy lies, which will indeed give people a feeling of being in a hurry to go to the doctor. Seeing the ridicule of the crowd, Yi Tianqi did not defend himself. He fixedly looked at Chen Daoxian and said with a smile, "Fellow Daoist Chen, they don't believe in your age, can you explain it yourself?" "Humph," Chen Daoxian sneered, as Sect Master Qian said, "as the leader of the dignified Xianqing Taoist Alliance, don't you feel that you are doing something wrong here?" "Oh, no way," Yi Tianqi spread out his hands, "who made you Qianyuan Jianzong's power in Izumo is still not satisfied, and I still have the idea of my Qingwei Taoist Tai Shinshui in my heart." As he said that, he changed his words, "There is a secret technique in this sect that can identify the cultivator's Dao age. Do you mind if you let me test it, Herd?" Chen Daoxian narrowed his eyes slightly. "Sect Master Yi, no matter what happens today, you can't keep the Tai Shinshui of the Qingwei Dao faction. I think all of you present don't want a neighbor of Yuanshan Dao Jun to appear near the sect, right?" Chen Daoxuan's words instantly spoke to everyone's heart. This is what people worry about the most. Compared with the Qianyuan sword sect, which was so powerful in Izumo, they were obviously more worried about the appearance of a Yuanshan Dao Jun in the Xianqing Dao League, because this would completely break the balance of power among the major sections. At that time, in the face of the Xianqing Dao League with the Yuanshan Dao Jun, even if they unite together, I am afraid they will not have the power to resist. However, Yi Tianqi didn't say a word, only to see the hand seal formula, and a strange light flashed towards Chen Daoxian. Yi Tianqi's shooting speed was extremely fast, and the distance between the two was very close, so Chen Daoxian only had time to call out the spirit armor of his life, and was illuminated by this Daoqi light. At the moment when this dodge came, Chen Daoxuan's bone age was immediately exposed to everyone. 67. Everyone was dumbfounded when they saw Chen Daoxuan's bone age. They never expected that what Yi Tianqi said was actually true. "You." Chen Daoxian only felt a burst of anger in his heart, because he found that there was something wrong with the gazes of the three major sects looking at him and Qin Zhan. A Jindan cultivator beheaded true monarch Yuanying in reverse. Fighting against the nascent soul true monarch with a 67-year-old Jindan cultivator is completely different. Don't you see that Qin Zhan, who became the nascent soul true monarch of the world realm at the age of less than 500 years old, has already amazed everyone? Compared with Qin Zhan, Chen Daoxuan's entry into the high level of the Lao realm at a mere 67 years old seems even more incredible. Finally, everyone focused their attention on Qianyuan Jianzong. Gulin Yi Tianqi felt the changes in the emotions of the people present, and the tight strings in his heart loosened slightly. "Everyone, listen to me." Qin Zhan also saw that there was something wrong with the eyes of everyone looking at him and Chen Daoxian. He cupped his hands and said, "Brother Chen and I are talented, we don't know when we will break through to the primordial spirit stage. Especially Brother Chen, his talent is very high, but after all, he is only in the late stage of Jindan, and he has not even reached the nascent soul stage. How much threat can he pose to you no matter how high his talent is?" Instead, it was him, Yi Tianqi. Qin Zhan pointed at the other party. Sect Master Yi's great Dao realm has reached the 6th world realm, and the indestructible real body has long since condensed, and it is only one step away from the final divine soul level before he can completely step into the realm of Yuanshan Dao Jun. Ladies and gentlemen, no matter how talented Brother Chen and I are, it is only a threat to you in the future, and once Sect Master Yi obtains the Tai Divine Water, all sects will be destroyed in an instant. Which is more important, I hope you all think deeply. Qin Zhan's remarks came from the bottom of his heart, and everyone listened to it without moving. It is true that the talents of Chen Daoxian and Qin Zhan are more perverted, but talents are not equal to cultivation, nor are they equal to strength. As Qin Zhan said, the threats of Chen Daoxian and Qin Zhan are only in the future, and once the Qingwei Taoist faction obtains the Tai Shinshui, it will immediately threaten everyone. They can still tell the difference. Humph. Demonic words confuse the public. As soon as Qin Zhan's words fell, Yi Tianqi shouted loudly. Everyone, Qianyuan Jianzong first sent heavy troops to invade the Izumo country of our Xianqing Dao League, and then lobbied the various sects to my sect Tai Shin Shui. Such aggressive sects would only want to expand their territory after the birth of Yuanshan Dao Jun. On the other hand, my Xianqing Dao League has never violated the boundaries of various sects for thousands of years. Even if our Xianqing Dao League does give birth to the Yuanshan Dao Jun, it will only recapture the Izumo kingdom that belongs to our Xianqing Dao League. How can we invade each sect? Who knows? Qin Zhan was angry on the spot when he heard Yi Tianqi's brazen words. You bastard, you can really confuse black and white. When did Izumo become the territory of your Xianqing Dao League? Back then, your Xianqing Dao League took advantage of my Qianyuan sword sect to help Liang Jiyuan and invaded our sect when our strength was weakened. This is something that is obvious to all. Do you still want to repay the debt? Qin Zhan said more and more angrily, stared at his eyes and said, Stop talking nonsense, everyone should see the real chapter under your hands. Yi Tianqi saw that Qin Zhan opened and closed his mouth, and his face was completely gloomy. Okay, since Hall Master Qin wants to play tricks with this seat will accompany me, and this seat also wants to see, you are called Qianyuan Sword Sect. What is the quality of the most talented monk in history? Dog thing. Come on. Qin Zhan's words just finished. Reaching out his hand, he saw a pitch-black flag appeared in Qin Zhan's hand. Chen Daoxian stood not far from Qin Zhan. When he saw the flag, he immediately recognized that it was one of the 3 treasures he saw in front of the Tongtian Tower, the 6 paths of reincarnation. The moment Chen Daoxian saw the flag, he only felt that his soul was absorbed by the flag, and he felt dizzy. But the next moment, the golden scriptures in the sea of consciousness shook slightly, and Chen Daoxian's dizzy feeling disappeared instantly. What a terrifying divine soul-attacking fairy weapon! Chen Daoxian was shocked. Sure enough, compared to the Stars and Stars Kendo map, which tends to be auxiliary, the 6 paths Samsara banner is a pure offensive fairy weapon, or a spirit-attacking fairy weapon. Far away, Yi Tianqi saw the black 6-path reincarnation flag in Qin Zhan's hand, and his heart suddenly set off a storm. Pure Yang immortal artifact. No, that's not right. Immediately afterwards, Yi Tianqi discovered something was wrong. Pure Yang immortal artifacts can't be this weak. That's right. In Yi Tianqi's eyes, although the black flag in front of him exudes a faint aura of pure Yang, the aura of its own fluctuations is only at the level of a 6th-order magic weapon. This is definitely not a fairy. In other words, this is not a complete form of fairy. Thinking of this, Yi Tianqi breathed a sigh of relief, but then he thought again, what if it was a real pure Yang immortal artifact? Even if Qin Zhan really has the pure Yang immortal artifact, how could he be motivated by his cultivation in the late nascent soul? Having said that, the cautious Yi Tianqi still ordered Elder He next to him, go and try this magic weapon in his hand. As the person in charge of the Shadowless Palace, Elder He was picked up by Yi Tianqi, and it is not an exaggeration to say that he is his first confidant. Even so, after hearing this order, Elder He still had some complaints in his heart. Not to mention the 6 reincarnation flags in Qin Zhan's hands, the Dao realm of the opponent's world realm is not something that Elder He can compete with. However, he did not dare not to obey Yi Tianqi's orders. Besides, his strength is much stronger than that of the palace master of Yuyue Palace. It is easy for Qin Zhan to defeat him, but it is almost impossible to kill him in front of the sect master. Think about this. Elder He dared to stand up, only you are qualified to let our sect master take action? Let the old man come to meet you. Say it. Elder He did not give Qin Zhan a chance to defend himself, and directly called out a pair of golden wheels. Above the golden wheel, the law of golden lines suddenly erupted. However, before he could wait for Elder He to take action, Qin Zhan waved the 6-path reincarnation flag at Elder He violently. Next moment, the spirited Elder He leaned back and his body fell towards the ground. Elder He. Elder He. Seeing this, everyone from the Qingwei Taoist sect exclaimed. Yi Tianqi directly stretched out his hand, and brought Elder He over. This. When everyone saw the appearance of Elder He clearly, they all felt terrified. Seeing that Elder He closed his eyes peacefully, and his body was not damaged in the slightest, Yi Tianqi penetrated his consciousness directly into Elder He's Dantian. He found that in Elder He's Dantianzi mansion, the other party's nascent soul was the same as his body, with his eyes closed peacefully. Soul dissipated. Elder He is dead. Killed by Qin Zhan with a single blow. When everyone saw this scene, they were immediately frightened. The nascent soul true monarch of the world realm is strong, but it is definitely not strong enough to kill the top true monarch in one blow. In particular, Elder He is not an ordinary top true monarch. He is also among the top true monarchs in the Xianqing Dao League. It was such a powerful top true monarch who was instantly killed by Qin Zhan. Retreat! Retreat all! Yi Tianqi stared at Qin Zhan and shouted, "Those who are not strong enough in spirit, retreat behind me." Hearing this, most of the dozens of nascent soul true monarchs of the Qingwei Taoist sect shrunk behind Yi Tianqi. The rest standing in front of everyone, either claiming to be powerful in spirit, or possessing divine spirit defense-type magic weapons. Chapter 374. Elder He is dead. This is the top true monarch who dominates the Shadowless Palace. Even in the Xianqing Dao League, he is a well-known existence, but he has fallen like this. The true monarch of the world realm, it's too terrifying. No, Qin Zhan killed the palace master of Wuying Palace, not by the realm of the great Dao, but by the black flag in his hand. The sect master of Qianji Temple narrowed his eyes slightly, looked at the 6 paths of reincarnation banner in Qin Zhan's hands, and said solemnly. When everyone heard the words, they all focused their attention on the 6 paths of reincarnation banner in Qin Zhan's hands. At this moment, the arena fell into a dead silence. The true monarchs of the Xianqing Dao League looked at Qin Zhan with anger and fear. Beside Qin Zhan, Chen Daoxian also looked at Qin Zhan in surprise, but immediately, Chen Daoxian thought that it was not normal for the 6-path reincarnation banner to be strong. As a treasure of the same level as it, the star's kendo chart can kill the late nascent soul cultivator in seconds, but the price paid can be described as great. In other words, Qin Zhan's killing of the palace master of Wuying Palace was far greater than the price he paid on the surface. Don't look at me like that. Qin Zhan's voice sounded in Chen Daoxuan's sea of knowledge, it will let others find the flaws, really. Chen Daoxian froze slightly, and then said, "Are you all right?" "Fine," Qin Zhan paused, "it's just that the 6 paths reincarnation flag consumes too much of the soul. In a short period of time, it is impossible for me to use it again." Hearing this, Chen Daoxian asked, "What should we do next?" "There are a total of 34 Yuanying true monarchs here in the Xianqing Dao League, and we are just 2 of us." Hearing this, Qin Zhan smiled slightly, "Don't worry, there are many people from the 3 major sections." With that said, Qin Zhan turned his head and smiled at the leaders of Qianji Temple, Tianyanzong, and Spirit Insect Valley. Seeing Qin Zhan smile, everyone nodded to him. Such a powerful true monarch had to be taken seriously by them. Qin Zhan's strength is probably stronger than that of the Qingwei Taoist sect master Yi Tianqi. How could such a strong man not be admired by everyone? Seeing everyone nodding to him, Qin Zhan said with a smile, "Everyone, destroy the Tai Immortal Pond at this moment." Hearing this, everyone looked at each other and nodded, "Good." "Humph!" Yi Tianqi exclaimed, "With this seat here, you can't even think about it." "Say it." The figures of Yi Tianqi and Qin Zhan instantly disappeared in front of everyone. This is. A nascent soul true monarch in Spirit Insect Valley seemed to be thinking of something, and he was not sure. Beside her, the holy maiden of the Insect Valley explained softly, "It's the world." World? Yes, the world, the holy maiden of the insect valley nodded. The world powerhouse can already achieve the level of one-thought world birth, but this so-called one-thought world birth does not mean that a world is created by him with one thought. In fact, the world of the world powerhouse is very similar to the origin of the world monster, except that the origin of the world monster is the internal world, and the world of the world powerhouse is a companion world, or they created it alone. The portable world. Hearing this, true monarch Yuanying beside him fell into contemplation. His current Tao realm is too far from the world realm, and he cannot understand the meaning of the saint at all. In his opinion, how can the combination of the laws of the law realm and the Tao realm give birth to the world? Unable to understand, he simply cupped his hands and asked, "Your Highness, since the world created by the world realm monks is similar to the origin realm of the world monster, it shouldn't be a big deal. Why are the top real monarchs so afraid of the real monarchs in the world realm?" Hearing this, the holy maiden of the insect valley glanced at the other party. But he still explained patiently, how can the origin of the world demon be compared to the world opened up by the monks in the world? The origin of the world demon is a kind of blood talent, and the world opened up by the monk in the world is completely under the control of the monk. The monk in the world can ingest outsiders into the world he has opened up with just one thought. Middle. Moreover, the world realm cultivator can also let the power of the whole world bless him, so that his own strength skyrockets several times or even 10 times out of thin air. These are not things that ordinary demons can do. While the two were discussing, a new change has taken place on the field. The people of the Xianqing Dao League saw that Qin Zhan was dragged into his own world by his own alliance leader, and only Chen Daoxian was left in the Qianyuan sword sect at this time. C. The Zhenjuan Xianqing Dao men, who was originally nervous, all looked at Chen Daoxian with bad expressions. Even Chen Daoxian faintly felt that the people from the three major sects would most likely not help him. After all, Yi Tianqi's previous remarks still played a role. A peerless genius like Chen Daoxian, who can defeat the late nascent soul cultivator in the Jindan stage, can only reassure everyone when he dies. Seeing this situation, Chen Daoxian's heart gradually cooled down. He knew that before Qin Zhan got out of trouble, all he could rely on was himself. On the Xianqing Dao League side, there are 33 top true monarchs, and this does not include the true monarchs of the three major sects who do not fall into the trap at critical moments. Otherwise, Chen Daoxian will face the 5 sects of Xianyang sect, Qingwei Dao sect, Qianji Hall, Tianyan sect, and Spirit Insect Valley by himself. Just thinking about this situation makes any nascent soul cultivator feel hopeless. Chen Daoxian is no exception. Although his strength has skyrocketed after half a year of retreat, it is impossible for him to be the opponent of nearly 100 Yuaning Zhenjuan from the 5 major sects. Think of this. Chen Daoxian didn't say a word, and his figure disappeared instantly. Want to run? Just as Chen Daoxian was tearing apart the space, a space barrier suddenly appeared behind Chen Daoxian, blocking his way. It is a pity that the Yuanying Zhenjuan of the Xianqing Dao League obviously misestimated Chen Daoxian's thoughts. Chen Daoxian did not run away from the Qingwei Taoist sect, but teleported to the depths of the Qingwei Taoist sect. No, Tai Immortal Pond. The palace master of Yuyue Palace swept away the consciousness, and immediately discovered the location of Chen Daoxian. Above the Tai Immortal Pond, the fog filled the entire Immortal Pond. If there was true monarch nascent soul here, he could only see a radius of 10 feet in front of him at the farthest. As soon as Chen Daoxian's figure entered the Tai Immortal Pond, he disappeared. At this moment, the Yuanying Zhenjuan in the Qingwei Taoist sect all understood Chen Daoxian's thoughts. Tai Immortal Pond can breed Tai Shinshui, a treasure that transforms the soul of a top true monarch, and it has incredible power in itself. This can be seen from the fact that the true monarchs of the Qingwei Taoist sect have retreated on the Tai Immortal Pond all year round. Nascent Soul Cultivator retreats in Tai Immortal Pond, and can use the special mist of Tai Immortal Pond to temper his soul and consciousness, and let his soul and consciousness grow slowly. But at the same time, due to the special effect of this fog to quench the consciousness and soul, it also makes Tai Immortal Pond have a disadvantage, that is, the scope of the detection of the consciousness is greatly reduced. Gu Yan. Under normal circumstances, the nascent soul cultivator who did not practice the spiritual eye secret technique would be visible in the mist of Tai Immortal Pond, and the range of his consciousness was even more compressed to the range of 1000 zhang. Perhaps for a qi refining cultivator, the consciousness of 1000 feet is already incredible. But to true monarch nascent soul, the consciousness of 1000 zhang range is almost the same as a blind man. At a critical moment, Chen Daoxian plunged into the Tai Immortal Pond of the Qingwei Taoist sect, which was indeed somewhat unexpected. Seeing that the true monarchs of the Xianqing Dao League were a little surprised, Elder Yun immediately comforted, "It's okay, if this son has just escaped from the sect, there is still a chance of life, but unfortunately he runs towards my sect, it is a real take. The way of death." Elder Yun's words were not entirely consolation. It is true that the mist in Tai Immortal Pond does hinder the cultivator's consciousness, but this place, as the sect of the Qingwei Taoist sect, has long been under the control of the Qingwei Taoist sect. The mist on the Tai Immortal Pond is also under the control of the Qingwei Taoist faction. In the Qingwei Taoist faction, apart from the suzerain Yi Tianqi, the other top true monarchs can also control the mist of Tai Immortal Pond through the array flag in their hands. Having said that, Elder Yun took the lead in taking out a 3-foot-long formation flag, gesturing at the other top true monarchs, and then flew straight towards Tai Immortal Pond. Immediately afterwards, the Yuanying Zhenjuan of the Xianqing Dao League all followed behind Elder Yun and flew towards the Tai Immortal Pond. C. The nascent soul monks from the 3 major sects looked at each other in dismay, and immediately followed behind the many true monarchs of the Xianqing Dao League, and flew in the direction of the Tai Immortal Pond, leaving the Qingwei Daoist disciples who were lined up in the sky to greet each other. Overwhelmed. Just this moment. No one cares about the thoughts of these Qingwei Daoist disciples with low cultivation bases. Tai Immortal Pond. As soon as Chen Daoxian stepped into the area of Tai Immortal Pond, he was shocked by the scene in front of him. Because he found that since he entered the Tai Immortal Pond, his consciousness seemed to have no effect, and the maximum detection range was only more than 200 feet. This can't help but make Chen Daoxian panic. For a long time, monks are used to exploring everything with their own consciousness. To a monk, losing consciousness is as terrifying as ordinary people losing their eyesight. But Chen Daoxian didn't get nervous for a few seconds, and his heart gradually calmed down. The characteristics of the Tai Immortal Pond of the Qingwei Taoist school, he had seen it in the classics of the Qianyuan sword sect long before he came to Izumo. How the Tai Immortal Pond was formed, there are different explanations, and it is impossible to study. But this immortal pond has a characteristic, that is, it can temper the strength of the cultivator's soul and enhance the cultivator's consciousness. Refinement. As one of the pillars of cultivation, which is as important as body refining and qi refining, it has always been the top priority of the monk's cultivation path. However, refining the gods is extremely difficult for ordinary monks. First, there is no suitable spiritual practice method. Second, there is no suitable environment for spiritual training. Although Chen Daoxuan's Shanhai chapter is only one of the Xingqian Kendo diagram exercises, it is undeniable that this is a top-level divine exercise. Even so, up to now, Chen Daoxuan's divine consciousness has only covered more than 2,300 miles, far less than the terrifying divine consciousness of Yuanying Zhenjuan, which can easily cover thousands of miles. From this, it can be seen that it is difficult to refine God. But at this moment, Chen Daoxian found that his spiritual consciousness was strengthened by the visible tempering in the process of being released. Sure enough, it is exactly the same as that recorded in the Qianyuan sword sect's classics. Chen Daoxian hurriedly stopped his escape, reached out and grabbed a handful of misty mist. Is it the effect of this special mist? Mist thought of a naughty elf, and it passed from Chen Daoxuan's palm in the blink of an eye. Think of this. Chen Daoxian slowly released his consciousness. He carefully felt how his consciousness was enhanced. This time, under Chen Daoxuan's careful feeling, the moment he realized that his consciousness was being released, he attracted the surrounding fog. These mists wrapped around Chen Daoxuan's consciousness, desperately trying to drill into his consciousness. But the strange thing is that these desperately penetrating into the mist of Chen Daoxuan's consciousness did not cause him much pain, but made him feel numb. If I had to use one state to describe this feeling, it would be like being drunk and feeling light all over my body. Immediately, Chen Daoxian woke up. According to the records in the Qianyuan Sword sect classics, the mist in the Tai Immortal Pond seems to be safe, but it is actually dangerous. If there is a nascent soul cultivator who dares to indulge in the pleasure brought by the rapid improvement of spiritual consciousness, as well as this light and numb feeling, soon the consciousness of this true monarch nascent soul will be completely assimilated by the mist of Tai Immortal Pond. With the strength of Yuanying Zhenjin's spiritual consciousness, not to mention Chen Daoxuan's spiritual consciousness is not as good as Yuanying Zhenjuan. Although there are golden scriptures sitting in his sea of consciousness, he can't hurt him by waiting for the attack of his divine soul and divine consciousness. But that was Chen Daoxuan's spiritual consciousness gathered in the sea of consciousness, and the spiritual consciousness probed overseas. He really couldn't guarantee whether the golden scriptures could save his life. Chen Daoxian didn't dare to gamble because his own life and family were at stake, so he could only honestly put his divine sense into the sea of knowledge, and only rely on vision to identify the direction. Lost spiritual guidance. Chen Daoxuan's escaping speed was greatly reduced. It wasn't that he couldn't fly fast, but that he didn't dare to fly around in this white fog. Because Chen Daoxian knew that at this moment, the monks from the Xianqing Dao League and the three major sects must have entered the Tai Immortal Pond to find him. If they were found and besieged again, Chen Daoxian would really be unable to escape. He had previously caught the Xianqing Dao League by surprise, and instead of fleeing outside the Qingwei Daoist sect, he teleported to the hinterland of the opponent's sect. This time, Chen Daoxian dared to guarantee that outside the Tai Immortal Pond, it must be the true monarch of the Qingwei Taoist faction, surrounded by a formation, and it would no longer be possible to give him a chance to escape. For Chen Daoxian, the only way to break the game is in this Tai Immortal Pond. Seems to think of something. Chen Daoxian immediately opened the Dao domain. The next moment, the invisible Dao domain slowly unfolded, just. Chen Daoxian found that although the Dao domain was unfolding, he could not perceive any fluctuations in the breath of life through the Dao domain. Sure enough, only the monks in the world can use the world projection to find out everything in the Tai Immortal Pond. Chen Daoxian frowned. At present, among the various forces present, only Qin Zhan and Yi Tianqi are clearly known to be the strongest in the world. But these two people, at this moment, are inextricably killed in the world created by each other. It is basically unreliable to count on Qin Zhan. Since he can't count on Qin Zhan, where did he get the world projection? Although his current Dao realm has long reached the conditions for breaking through the world realm, as the sixth realm of the Dao realm, is not so easy to break through. Otherwise, the Qianyuan Sword sect and the Xianqing Dao League would add up to hundreds of thousands of nascent soul true monarchs, and only 2 nascent soul true monarchs would reach the world realm. Chapter 375. Since the Dao domain is not good, then what about this? Chen Daoxuan's eyes flickered slightly, and he immediately called out the star kendo map from his dantian. As soon as the Xingqian kendo map flew out of the sea of dantian qi, it flew towards the top of Chen Daoxuan's head. Then, the Xingqian kendo map was like a sky, covering the entire Tai Immortal Pond. The formation was indeed opened outside the Tai Immortal Pond. Chen Daoxian secretly said. But immediately, he couldn't help feeling extremely shocked by the vastness of Tai Immortal Pond. According to the results measured by the Xingqian Kendo map, the Tai Immortal Pond covers an area of more than 10,000 miles. Such a large water area, placed in a previous life, would definitely be called a sea, not a pool. But in Zion Yunzhu, such waters can only be called xianqi. Qin Daoxian didn't bother too much about the title of Tai Immortal Pond. After all, the world of immortals and the world of mortals are very different. As the cultivation level became more and more advanced, Qin Daoxian gradually realized that the land under his feet might not be a planet, but a bit like the round sky in ancient myths and legends. It's just that Qin Daoxian's cultivation time is still short, and his exploration of this world is more concentrated in the Zhangzhou boundary of Wangxinghai. Although he came to Zion Yunzhu for a while this time, most of his energy was focused on the war between Qianyuan Jianzong and Xianqing Dao League, and he had no time to care about other things. Qin Daoxian has been thinking in his heart that in the future, until the war between the two sides subsides and Uncle 13 succeeds in building the foundation, he must take Luoli and take a good tour of Zion Yunzhu. See the real scenery of Xiuxian world. Qin Daoxian came back to his senses, because he found through the star kendo map that there are nearly 100 powerful breaths, constantly searching in the Tai Immortal Pond. If he guessed correctly, these people should be the Yuanying Jinjuan of the Xianqing Dao League and the three major sections. Sure enough, when he sensed it carefully, Qin Daoxian saw a white-haired Taoist headed by him, holding an array flag, opening the way ahead. Behind the white-haired Taoist, there are 32 Yuanying true monarchs of the Xianqing Dao League. Among them, 11 are at the top true monarch level, and the rest of them, with the lowest cultivation level, are no better than the Ming Huang who was killed by Qin Daoxian at the beginning. True monarch cultivation base is low. It can be said that the people present are definitely the most cultivated group in the Xianqing Dao League. Even Qin Daoxian found an old acquaintance among the crowd, the palace master of Yuyue Palace. Especially the Yuanying Jinjuan of Zhuanyangzong. Although Xianyang sect and Qingwei Daoist sect were good enough to wear a pair of trousers, they were not the same sect after all. Does the Xianyang sect really want to take the lives of more than a dozen true monarchs for the sake of the Tai Shinshui of the Qingwei Taoist sect? At least Wu Sheng, as the sect master of Xianyang sect, absolutely cannot do this kind of behavior that damages the interests of the sect. Seeing that the situation is not good, he will definitely be the first to run away with the people of Xianyang sect. Wu Sheng nodded and said, "In this case, we will act separately." After discovering Qin Daoxian, everyone should not be in a hurry, and must call the news as soon as possible. Yes, Deputy Alliance Leader. The crowd shook hands. The palace master of Yuyue Palace, as the top true monarch of the Qingwei Taoist sect, also received an array of flags and jade talismans, and temporarily formed a team with 2 late nascent soul monks. 32 true monarchs of nascent soul formed 11 teams to search for Qin Daoxian. The last team was led by Yun Kun and consisted of only 2 people. Although the team led by Yun Kun is composed of 2 people, in terms of strength, his team is definitely not weak among the 11 teams, because Yun Kun's strength is second only to Yi Tianqi in the Qingwei Taoism. Even Wu Sheng, the sect master of Xianyang sect, is not necessarily his opponent. The people of the Xianqing Dao League arranged all this, but they did not know that their every move was under Qin Daoxian's eyes, and he could see it clearly through the star kendo map. About 1,000 miles away from the Xianqing Dao League, Qin Daoxian sneered. "Spread apart to catch me? It's really courting death." The people of the Xianqing Dao League did not know that Qin Daoxian's strength was different from before. In their perception, Qin Daoxian's strength is still the same as before, and even the palace master of Yuyue Palace can't win. Although it is shocking enough to be comparable to the late nascent soul cultivator at the Jindan stage, the lack of strength means lack of strength. Others will not send Qin Daoxian to come to him because of his low cultivation. This is not a turn-based game, who will play with you to save Grandpa. However, the people of the Xianqing Dao League would never have thought that in just over half a year, Qin Daoxian's strength had undergone earth-shaking changes. This is the tragedy of poor information. After monitoring the movements of the Xianqing Dao League, Qin Daoxian quickly shrunk the night scene formed by the stars and kendo map to a range of 2,000 miles. Although the Xingqian Kendo map is a pure yang fairy weapon, the fully expanded range is definitely more than 10,000 miles, but the use of the Xingqian Kendo map consumes too much mana. Even if Qin Daoxian had a 6th grade fortune-telling white lotus by his side, he would not dare to let it cover a radius of 10,000 miles. What's more, Qin Daoxian still has a hard fight. Gudi, not to mention the 32 Yuanying true monarchs of the Xianqing Dao League, the attitudes of the 3 major sects are also somewhat ambiguous. Qin Daoxian could see that they wanted to use the hands of Xianqing Daomeng to get rid of themselves. Yi Tianqi's flattery still played a role. Performing the insect-breathing technique of the perfect realm, Qin Daoxuan's breath continued to weaken until it disappeared completely. Qin Daoxian estimated that even if he was standing next to a nascent soul cultivator, it would be difficult for the other party to find him. Coupled with the fog of Tai Immortal Pond, Qin Daoxian at this moment has completely transformed into a top assassin, and he is still the one with perspective. In the blink of an eye, he and the Xianqing Dao Alliance's offensive and defensive tendencies were reversed. The first person Qin Daoxian targeted was his old acquaintance, the palace master of Yuyue Palace, who chased and killed him in Jinyuan Xiancheng. The reason for staring at the palace master of Yuyue Palace. Qin Daoxian is not entirely out of vengeance, but also because he knows the strength of the palace master of Yuyue Palace best. After all, among the many top true monarchs of the Xianqing Dao League, he has only fought against the palace master of Yuyue Palace. A long distance away. The palace lord of Yuyue Palace was wearing black spirit armor, and on her left and right sides, she was also followed by 2 late nascent soul cultivators wearing black spirit armor. The 2 nascent soul true monarchs beside her were all Taoist disciples. Yun Kun knew that the strength of the palace lord of the Yuyue Palace was not strong among the top true monarchs. This arrangement was considered to be taking care of the palace lord of the Yuyue Palace. Although Palace Master Yuyue is naturally proud, she is not stubborn, because she knows that if Qin Daoxian is not completely killed this time, the Xianqing Dao League will probably never have the opportunity to kill this person in the future. As the only top true monarch who has played against Qin Daoxian, the shock that Qin Daoxian brought to the Palace Master of Yuyue Palace is far from what other top true monarchs can understand by hearsay. Because the palace master of Yuyue Palace knew that Qin Daoxian did not rely on special secret techniques and instruments to fight her, but relying on the real Dao realm, and even the other party's Dao realm was above hers. And how long did Qin Daoxian practice? Not even 1/10 of the training time of Qin Zhan, the most enchanting cultivator in the history of Qianyuan Jianzong. If things go on like this, in another 10 years, won't Qin Daoxian be able to hang her up and beat her? At most 100 years, I am afraid that even the suzerain is not Qin Daoxuan's opponent. Compared with Qin Zhan, Qin Daoxuan's threat is really scary, because you don't know when the strength of this enchanting evildoer will leave you far behind. The palace master of Yuyue Palace waved the flag in his hand and flew slowly along the negotiated route. Within 100 miles, there is no fog at all, and beyond 100 miles, it is a vast expanse of white. And Qin Daoxian, at this moment, just arrived at a position 100 miles away from Palace Master Yuyue, hiding in the fog. 100 miles is enough. With Qin Daoxuan's current strength, the distance of 100 miles, even if he uses the light to escape, can be reached in the blink of an eye. As for using a flying sword, it is many times faster than escape light. Since his shadow sword is the embodiment of the space law, he has the ability to travel through space. Even if it is combined with the law of water movement, it is the same. In the mist, Qin Daoxian called out Chengying and Feishue double swords while observing the 3 of Yuyue Palace Master. That's right, he was going to sneak attack on Palace Master Yuyue and his party. Originally, Qin Daoxian wanted to attack Palace Lord Yuyue directly, but thought about it carefully. He did not have the confidence to kill Palace Lord Yuyue with one blow, although Qin Daoxian was confident that with his current strength, he could definitely easily defeat Palace Lord Yuyue. But Qin Daoxian was not sure whether he could kill the opponent or not. Those who can kill the top true monarch head-on, usually only the true monarch of the world realm can do it. And killing the top true monarchs in one blow, even Yuanshan Dao Jun, may not be able to do it. This is also the reason why Qin Zhan wields the flag to kill Elder He in seconds, scaring everyone to death. But Qin Zhan killed Elder He with a single blow, using the ability of the Six Paths Samsara banner to attack the divine soul, otherwise he would not be able to do this at all. And although the Six Paths of Samsara banner is strong, it also has great drawbacks. On the one hand, it consumes the power of the soul. If the opponent has a strong soul or has the means to resist the attack of the soul, the effect of the Six Paths of Samsara banner is greatly reduced. In addition, the 6 reincarnation banners cannot be attacked in groups. In terms of strategic deterrence, Qin Zhan and the 6 reincarnation banners are far inferior to a Yuanshan Taoist. Yi Tianqi saw this clearly and dared to pull Qin Zhan into his own world. Otherwise, if Qin Zhan really had the strength comparable to that of U.S. Shintokuan and killed Yi Tianqi, he would not dare to drag the opponent into his own world. Under the joint blessing of Tiangang sword formation and the power of mind, Feishua and Qingying swords slowly merged into one. Compared with Qin Daoxuan's strongest means, the Golden Giant sword formed by the fusion of the 3 laws, Feishua and Qingying swords were fused, although their power was weaker. However, because the power of the Tiangang sword formation is far stronger than the repulsive force of the fusion of the 2 laws, the fusion of the 2 immortal swords is silent, which is suitable for sneak attacks. In an instant, the 2 immortal swords were 100% fused, and a slender dark blue immortal sword appeared in front of Qin Daoxian. The 2 laws are the high-level laws, and the degree of fusion reaches 100%. After the fusion, the figurative fairy sword is like substance and becomes very stable. Beneath the blessing, Qin Daoxian withdrew the power of the Tiangang sword formation, but the dark blue fairy sword did not change at all, and was still quietly suspended in front of Qin Daoxian. It seems that my feeling last time was not an illusion. After the 2 laws are fully integrated, the repulsive force between each other will indeed disappear. Qin Daoxian muttered. Immediately, his eyes became extremely sharp. Divine sense came out and instantly locked onto a late nascent soul cultivator on the left-hand side of the palace master of Yuyue Palace. At the moment when Qin Daoxuan's consciousness locked on the opponent, the unknown nascent soul cultivator immediately reacted. Just as he was about to call out the natal magic weapon, a dark blue sword light directly penetrated the 5th-order high-grade spirit armor on his body. Elder Zheng. Enemy attack. The 2 shouts sounded almost simultaneously. Qin Daoxuan's figure was also completely exposed. However, the body and yuaning of this late yuaning cultivator with the surname Zheng slowly dissipated under the power of Qin Daoxuan's sword. Even if the opponent's flesh body is integrated with the true meaning of immortality, the recovery ability is amazing. But when the power of the attack exceeds the limit that the opponent can bear, no matter how powerful the body is, it cannot escape the fate of annihilation. Chen. Dao. Xian. Palace Lord Yuyue looked at the figure slowly appearing in the mist, gnashing his teeth. Chapter 376. Soon, Qin Daoxuan's figure retreated into the mist again and disappeared in a flash. Don't run. The palace master of Yuyue Palace saw that Qin Daoxian secretly attacked and killed her true monarch of the Qingwei Taoist sect, and tried to escape, and a surge of anger immediately surged into his heart. In a fit of anger, she even forgot to inform the other true monarchs of the Qingwei Taoist sect at the first time, but went straight to chase and kill Qin Daoxian alone. The flags waved, and the fog dissipated. The palace master of Yuyue Palace was like electricity, and quickly followed the direction Qin Daoxian left, chasing after him. Ha ha! Qin Daoxian sensed the palace lord of Yuyue Palace 100 miles behind him through the star sword Dao map, and a sneer appeared on the corner of his mouth. It was so easy to be hooked. Palace Master Wan. Behind the Palace Master Yuyue, the surviving late nascent soul cultivator was still in shock when he saw Palace Master Yuyue chasing after him like an electric shot. As Palace Master Yuyue left, the fog enveloped him once again. This time, he directly degenerated from amblyopia to blind. Coupled with the fact that his companion had just died in front of him, this Qingwei Taoist true monarch nascent soul was so terrified that he didn't dare to chase after Palace Master Yuyue. Who? Left alone in the Tai immortal pond full of white mist, his breathing gradually became rapid. Suddenly, he remembered something. Jiguang Communication Talisman. His divine sense penetrated into the storage ring, and only then did he realize that the Jiguang Talisman was on the Palace Master Yuyue. Damn, Palace Master Wan is too impulsive. On the other hand, Palace Lord Yuyue didn't know the complaints of her companions. In her eyes, in the whole world, there was only Chen Daoxian who had repeatedly played with her and escaped from her hands. 100 miles, 80 miles, 60 miles, gradually. The figure of Palace Lord Yuyue is getting closer and closer to Chen Daoxian, so close that with the speed of Yuanying Zhenjuan, he can catch up with Chen Daoxian with just a few breaths. Actually, although Chen Daoxian's cultivation level is only in the late stage of Jindan, but due to the high realm of his avenues, his escape speed is no less than that of Yuanying Zhenjuan. The reason why he was caught up by the Palace Master of Yuyue Palace so quickly was to give the other party a little hope. But that hope soon turned to despair. Just when the distance between Palace Lord Yuyue and Chen Daoxian had shrunk to 50 miles, Chen Daoxian estimated the location of the two of them, and it was about 1,500 miles away from the position where he killed the Qingwei Daoist true monarch nascent soul. At a distance of more than 1,500 miles, Palace Master Yuyue would need at least a few dozen breaths to return. Dozens of breaths, enough. Just when Palace Master Yuyue accumulated a real fire of phantom spirits in her hands and wanted to give Chen Daoxian a ruthless attack, she found that a terrifying force of repression suddenly enveloped her body. Immediately afterwards, Palace Lord Yuyue's escaping speed plummeted, watching Chen Daoxian escape into the fog again. Do not. After seeing that the enemy killed a true monarch of her own sect, the Palace Master Yuyue left in front of her so grandly, but she was powerless. This unparalleled humiliation made Palace Lord Yuyue almost collapse. But the flag in the hands of Palace Master Yuyue can only disperse the fog in a radius of 100 miles at the farthest. Once Chen Daoxian escapes into the fog and turns a corner, she can no longer tell where the other party fled to. After stopping the escaping light, Palace Master Yuyue stood there blankly. The huge sense of frustration made her doubt herself. If there are monks of the same rank here, you can see at a glance that the Qingwei Taoist Palace Master Yuyue, who is well known, is now on the verge of being born in the dark. Although she had only dealt with Chen Daoxian twice, the loss was greater once than once. The first time Jinyuan Xiancheng was completely destroyed in her confrontation with Chen Daoxian, and the second time was even worse, causing the Qingwei Taoist faction to directly damage a late nascent soul true monarch. A long time. Only then did Palace Master Yuyue recover. Lu Mei frowned slightly, and thought to herself, how did this guy become so strong? It was only now that Palace Lord Yuyue realized that Chen Daoxian had just killed a late nascent soul monk with one blow. Although Chen Daoxian took advantage of the sneak attack. But the late nascent soul cultivator who was with her was not unprepared. At the very least, the fifth-order high-grade spirit armor on his body was directly pierced by the immortal sword that embodied Chen Daoxian's laws. One blow kills the late nascent soul cultivator. Palace Master Yuyue frowned, since you have such strength, why do you have to run away, isn't it not good? Palace Lord Yuyue suddenly realized something, and the complexion on her pretty face suddenly changed. The other side. In the group of three, the last cultivator in the late nascent soul, after being chased by Palace Master Yuyue, hesitated for a while, and the figures of Chen Daoxian and Palace Master Yuyue completely disappeared in front of him. Now, Without the formation flag to disperse the fog, he has become a blind man again, and he doesn't dare to rampage in the Tai Immortal Pond. Don't wait, she shouldn't be back in a while. Suddenly, a voice sounded in his ear, which made his heart skip a beat. He didn't care that his consciousness was eroded by the fog, so he tried his best to reach out, and finally, thousands of feet away, he found the figure of a young cultivator. It was Qin Daoxian. In front of Qin Daoxian, a golden giant sword was suspended in front of him. On the golden giant sword, the lines of various laws flicker faintly, and the three-color streamer constantly fluctuates, giving people a feeling of being extremely unstable. However, the laws in this golden giant sword were restrained by a powerful formation force, which forced them to merge together. Constraint and confrontation formed such a terrifying fairy sword. At the moment when he detected this golden fairy sword, the Yuaning Zhenjuan of the Qingwei Taoist sect felt a sudden blackness in front of his eyes. Immediately afterwards, he was completely unconscious. Qin Daoxian silently watched Yuaning Zhenjuan, who was blasted into nothingness by the golden giant sword, and disappeared directly in place. Boom! Just as Qin Daoxian disappeared, a terrifying black hole formed where this true monarch nascent soul disappeared. The black hole madly swallowed the mist of Tai Immortal Pond, and soon, a huge fog vortex centered on the black hole formed over Tai Immortal Pond. Moreover, the diameter of this fog vortex is constantly expanding. 100 miles, 200 miles, 300 miles. In the blink of an eye, the fog vortex expanded to 1,000 miles. The huge movement also attracted the attention of all parties. It was the true monarchs of the Xianqing Dao League who first paid attention to this place, because they knew that this was one of their search routes. Palace Master Yuyue was the first to react, and with a flash of light, he flew towards the center of the fog vortex. But before she could enter the center of the fog vortex, a sense of horror came to her heart. Mind alert! Feeling this mental warning, Palace Master Yuyue did not dare to move on, but waited 100 miles away from the center of the whirlpool. Soon, Gu Lian the Xianqing Dao League team rushed over after a team of Yuaning Zhenjuan. The sect master of Xianyang sect saw Palace Master Yuyue who was alone, and just wanted to go forward to ask questions, but when he saw the other party's calm face, the words came to his mouth, and he held back. Anyway, next to Palace Master Yuyue is the true monarch of the Qingwei Dao School. Even if it is damaged, it will not be his turn to ask questions from the people of Xianyang sect. It's just, this Qin Daoxian is really not simple. Wu Xing thought to himself. Yun Kun was the last one to arrive. When he saw Yu Yu alone, his expression changed suddenly. Palace Master Wan, what about Elder Zheng and the others? Palace Master Yuyue took a deep breath, stretched out trembling fingers, pointed to the terrifying vortex ahead, and said, they died, and they all died in the hands of Qin Daoxian. What? How is this possible? Qin Daoxian District Jindan Cultivation Base, how could it be possible to kill two nascent soul true monarchs one after another under the care of the top true monarch? Everyone looked at Palace Master Yuyue with suspicious eyes. Feeling everyone's doubts, Palace Master Yuyue felt even more chill in her heart. She pursed her lips and said nothing, but her knuckles were tightly squeezed. Seeing the appearance of Palace Lord Yuyue, Yun Kun knew that the other party must be underestimating the enemy. But when it comes to underestimating the enemy, he should be the first to underestimate the enemy. If he hadn't misestimated Qin Daoxian's strength and scattered everyone, why would he have been defeated one by Qin Daoxian, so as to damage the two true monarchs? So count down. In the entire Qingwei Taoist sect, 3 true monarchs of the late nascent soul have fallen into the hands of Qin Daoxian. Just when Yun Kun frowned, a tyrannical breath rushed over one after another. Looking closely, it was the people from the 3 sects of Tianyanzong, Linghuogu, and Qianji Temple. Compared with the 31 Yuanying true monarchs of the Xianqing Dao League, the 3 major sects had the most Yuanying monks, adding up to 62 people. Among them, the Yuanying Zhenjuan from the Qianji Hall had the most, with a total of 27, and the Yuanying Zhenjuan in the Spirit Insect Valley had the least number, only 13. The number of nascent soul true monarchs in Tianyinzong was slightly less than that of Qianji Hall, with only 22 people. Of course, although the number of nascent soul true monarchs sent by the three major sects was large, the number of top true monarchs was not large. The top true monarchs of the three major sects added up to only 9. Among the rest of the true monarchs, the cultivation level was the lowest, and there were even monks in the early nascent soul. Although they dispatched 62 Yuanying true monarchs, without Qin Zhan and Chen Daoxian of Qianyuan sword sect, their strength would not be comparable to Xianqing Daomeng. The sect master of Thousand Machines Hall just arrived at the scene, looking at the terrifying vortex of mist in front of him. He was shocked. This is. On the side, a green color flashed in the eyes of the holy maiden of the Insect Valley, and she said softly, the center of this fog was penetrated by a top powerhouse, forming a black void. Break through space. The sect master of the Thousand Machines Palace looked surprised. Nascent soul true monarch breaking the void is nothing, but keeping the void in a damaged state is not easy. Generally speaking, even if a Yuanying cultivator breaks the void will return to normal in the blink of an eye under the restoration of the world power of the Phoenix Meteor realm. Only the monks in the world realm or even stronger monks in the primordial spirit stage can cause long-term damage to the void. Therefore, ordinary cultivators whose Dao realm reaches the 6th world realm will be more cautious than Yuanying Zhenjuan when they make hands with each other. As the sect master of Xianyang sect, he naturally cannot impersonate him. Just as he was about to refute, the palace lord of Yuyue Palace on the side said, "It's not Vice President Wu, but Chen Daoxian, heard." The sect master of Qianji Temple immediately laughed. "I found that your Xianqing Dao alliance is quite shameless for the support of our three sections." What? Do you think that if your Xianqing Dao alliance said this, we can give up the idea of destroying Tai Shinshui? The sect master of Qianji Temple said coldly, "To tell you the truth, we don't need to care about Chen Daoxuan's life or death, but Tai Shinshui must be destroyed." Although the sect master of the Thousand Machines Palace showed an uncontrollable greed in his eyes when he talked about the Tai Shinshui. But he knew in his heart that this Tai Shinshui was not only a treasure to his Qianji temple, but a poison that caused trouble. Now, any power that gets the Tai divine water will instantly become the target of public criticism. Just when the atmosphere of the crowd was a little bit tense. Below the Tai immortal pond, a terrifying aura fluctuated wildly toward all directions. Perceiving this aura fluctuation, the expressions of everyone present suddenly changed. Tai Shinshui. Born. Chapter 377. As this terrifying aura fluctuated, the white mist began to boil over the Tai immortal pond. Even the vortex of spiritual energy in front of everyone could not stop the boiling of the white mist. In the eyes of the public, the boiling mist gradually subsided. To be precise, it gathered towards the center of Tai immortal pond. Countless mists gathered towards the center of Tai immortal pond, and the thick mist above Tai immortal pond gradually became thinner. This ghost fog has dissipated. If that's the case, the fog's restraint on consciousness has disappeared. Finally, you don't have to be anymore. The monks from the Xianqing Dao League and the three major sects found that as the mist above the Tai immortal pond dissipated, they had regained the ability to detect their consciousness, and they could not help but breathe a sigh of relief. Without the detection of spiritual awareness, the cultivator's strength has been weakened by at least half. Not only has he lost the ability to fight at a distance, but even in close combat, it is difficult to anticipate opportunities. Just like the two Qingwei Taoist Yuanying Zhenjuan who died in a sneak attack by Chen Daoxian. Although their strength is not comparable to Chen Daoxian, if they have the help of divine sense, the two will not even have time to react, and they will be killed by Chen Daoxian with one blow. Not far from the center of Tai immortal pond, Chen Daoxian clearly sensed that the mist in Tai Immortal Pond did not dissipate, but gathered towards the interior of the Immortal Pond. Inside the Immortal Pond, it seems that a peerless treasure is about to be born. If his guess is correct, this treasure is the ultimate goal of his trip, Tai Shui. Thinking of this, Chen Daoxian dived straight into the bottom of Tai Immortal Pond. Although the water quality of Tai Immortal Pond and Wangxinghai are slightly different, as a veteran who often dives into the bottom of the sea, Chen Daoxian's water escape technique has long been practiced to the perfect state of perfection. Sneaking into the mere Tai Immortal Pond is no longer a problem. Although not everyone of the Xianqing Dao League and the true monarchs of the three major sects are good at the technique of water escape, but after all, they have a high level of cultivation, and a mere amount of pool water is nothing in their eyes. They all frowned and plunged into the pool. The water escape technique was fully deployed, and Chen Daoxian's escape speed in the water was nearly twice as fast as other nascent soul true monarchs. In addition, his position from Tai Shui is closer than that of true monarch nascent soul. If things go on like this, Chen Daoxian will definitely be the first to arrive at the place where Tai Shui was born. This scene was all witnessed by other true monarch Yuaning. They were all anxious, especially the members of the Xianqing Dao League. They were not afraid that Chen Daoxian would the Tai Shui. In their opinion, Chen Daoxian was alone. No matter how strong his strength was, he could not stop the siege of so many Yuan present. Compared with robbing Tai Shui, Chen Daoxian is more likely to destroy Tai Shui. Chen Daoxian, you dare. Don't be impulsive. Tai Shui can only be seen in 1,000 years, and Dao Yu Chen has something to discuss. This is the sound transmission of the divine consciousness of the true monarch of the Xianqing Dao League. There are also the true monarchs of the three major sects standing by the fire. Chen Daoxian, don't be stunned, Tai Shui must not be kept. Once this thing is obtained by the Xianqing Dao League, the major sects have no reason to survive. Chen Daoxian, destroy it. Either intimidating, begging, or joking, all kinds of sound transmissions of divine consciousness were introduced into Chen Daoxian's sea of consciousness. Chen Daoxian was determined and unmoved. His purpose is not to damage the Tai Shui. In fact, he desires the Tai Shui more than any monk. Chen Daoxian pursed his lips tightly, and his speed under the water became faster and faster. Finally, at the same moment when Tai Shui was formed, he just arrived here. The appearance of Tai Shui is the size of an adult fist, like a dark orb, quietly suspended in the depths of Tai Immortal Pond. After the Tai Shui absorbed all the mist, the amazing aura fluctuations it exudes also converged. Seeing this, Chen Daoxian looked happy. With a wave of his hand, he put the Tai Shui into his storage ring. The true monarchs of the three major sects saw this scene with their divine sense, and they all went crazy. Chen Daoxian didn't destroy Tai Shui, but stole it. What did he want? The monks of the Xianqing Dao League breathed a sigh of relief. It was good that Tai Shui was not destroyed. At least they still had the possibility to retake it. The battle between Qianyuan Jianzong and Xianqing Dao League is in jeopardy. The high-level officials of Xianqing Dao League all hope to use this Tai Shui to turn the tide against the wind. This thing must not have the slightest risk. But no matter what, the treasure of Tai Shui, the Xianqing Taoist Alliance and the three major sects, will not allow it to fall into the hands of Qianyuan Jianzong. Chen Daoxian, hand over the Tai Shui. Chen Daoxian, there are 100 true monarchs here, and one spit can drown you, not to mention that you haven't reached the world realm. Even if you are the real monarch of the world realm, under the joint siege of 100 true monarchs, there is only one dead end. Leave the Tai Shui, and my Xianyang sect can save your life. The sect master of Xianyang sect said sincerely. Chen Daoxian, destroy the Tai Shui, and our three sects can join forces to save your life. The sect master of Tianyinzong also persuaded by sound transmission. Whoa! Qin Daoxian flew straight out of Tai Immortal Pond, and then, a teleportation, disappeared above the water surface of Tai Immortal Pond. After a few flashes, Qin Daoxian's figure came to the edge of Tai Immortal Pond. At the edge of Tai Immortal Pond, all were besieged by the Qingwei Daoist formation. Seeing the transparent formation light curtain, Qin Daoxian frowned slightly. Next moment, he directly called out the star's kendo map, and the mana was fully infused, and the star's kendo map directly enveloped the entire Tai Immortal Pond. Yun Kun just flew out of Tai Immortal Pond, and before he had time to teleport, he felt that the space was extremely frozen, and he couldn't perform teleport at all. Dao Domain Magic Weapon. Wuxing also just got out of the water at the moment. He felt it, shook his head and said, "It's not a Taoist magic weapon, at least not a 5th-order Taoist magic weapon. The power of a 5th-order Taoist magic weapon will never be so powerful. This magic tool is a bit like a 6th-order domain magic tool, but with the mana of Qin Daoxian's Jin Dan period, how can the 6th-order magic tool be activated?" Wu Shen was puzzled. "No matter what, take back the Tai Shinshui first, and catch Qin Daoxian later. These secrets will be revealed." Brother Yun is right. Although the two communicated each other's voices, the escape light did not decrease at all, but under the suppression of the Xingqian Kendo map, the speed of escape was reduced by several grades. If under normal circumstances, it only takes half a cup of tea for them to fly over the entire Tai Immortal Pond, then now, with a cup of tea, they may not be able to reach Qin Daoxian's position. A cup of tea time, about 10 minutes. Qin Daoxian must break the 6th-order formation in front of him within 10 minutes. Thinking of this, Qin Daoxian took a deep breath. The next moment, the three-handed immortal sword of transparent, light blue, and cyan appeared in front of Qin Daoxian. The power of the formation and the pull of the mind. The three swords of Qingying, Feishue, and Qingyan merged together again. Perhaps it was due to the fusion of the rules many times that Qin Daoxian's understanding of the Tiangang sword formation has improved, or perhaps Qin Daoxian's potential has exploded in desperation. In short, this time he integrated the three laws, which seemed to be smoother. The degree of fusion of the rules also faintly surpassed 70%. The Tao law of the high-level section of the three laws has a degree of integration exceeding 70%. But in terms of the degree of integration of the Tao law, even the true monarchs of many worlds are not as good as Qin Daoxian. After all, there are many real monarchs in the realm of the world. They only break through to the realm of the world when the fusion of the three laws reaches only 50%. In terms of the fusion of the laws, they are naturally inferior to Qin Daoxian at this time. Soon, a golden giant sword appeared in front of Qin Daoxian again. Looking at the light curtain in front of him, Qin Daoxian suddenly withdrew the suppression of the many nascent soul true monarchs from the star's kendo chart, and instead poured all the suppressing power of the star's kendo chart onto the 6th-order array light curtain in front of him. Suddenly, the formation light curtain in front of him made a creaking sound. In the rear, after losing the suppression of the star's kendo map, the speed of the true monarchs of the Xianqing Dao League and the three major sects skyrocketed, especially Yun Kun and other true monarchs who were proficient in the laws of space. Simply cast space teleportation directly and fly towards Qin Daoxian. The moment Yun Kun appeared behind Qin Daoxian, Qin Daoxian's golden giant sword slashed towards the 6th-order formation light curtain with all his strength. Seeing this, Yun Kun's face changed greatly. Regardless, he slapped Qin Daoxian's back with a palm. In addition to Yun Kun's terrifying physical power in this palm, there are also three laws entangled in the palm. Feeling the horror of the blow behind him, Qin Daoxian could only hope that the defense of the 6th-order power spirit armor would be powerful enough. Otherwise, today is the time when life and death are eliminated. Qin Daoxian continued to control the golden giant sword while urging the spirit armor of his life, and slashed towards the light curtain of the formation. Boom! One after the other, the two attacks fell almost at the same time. Under the suppression of Qin Daoxuan's Xingqian Kendo map and the full-strength sword attack, the array light curtain was directly blasted into a hole. And Qin Daoxian himself was directly knocked out by Yun Kun's palm. Puff! Qin Daoxian suffered a blow from a top true monarch second only to Yi Tianqi, and felt a little sweet in his throat, and at the same time, a trace of blood was left on the corner of his mouth. But that's all. For Qin Daoxian, who has a skull-shattering physical cultivation base, this injury is simply an itch. As for the 6th order power spirit armor on him, it was not damaged at all. The reason why Qin Daoxian vomited blood was because of the shock after being attacked. Although the defense of the spirit armor is strong, it is impossible to block all attacks 100%. The shock of a little attack is always unavoidable, and this is the same for any advanced spirit armor. Thanks. Qin Daoxuan's figure was under the palm of Yun Kun's palm, and he shot out the 6th order defensive formation at a faster speed. And the light curtain that was blasted by Qin Daoxuan's sword with a huge crack also slowly recovered under the installation of the spiritual energy of the entire Qingwei Taoism. 6th order spirit armor. Yun Kun looked at Qin Daoxian, who was sent away by his palm, and was slightly stunned. It is this moment of stunnedness, the 6th order formation has been restored again. Damn! Yun Kun immediately reacted, took out the formation token from the storage ring, and dispersed the formation around the Tai Immortal Pond. And when he dispersed the formation, Qin Daoxian had already flickered a few times, and rushed to the exit of the Zhongmen defense formation of the Qingwei Taoist sect. Open the formation. Open the formation. Yun Kun's voice kept ringing in the ears of the Jindan cultivator who was in charge of the formation, but his movements were still a beat slower. At the critical moment, Qin Daoxian rushed out of the mountain protection formation of the Qingwei Taoist faction. Just as Qin Daoxian stepped out of the mountain protection formation of the Qingwei Taoist sect, 2 figures fell out of the void. Qin Daoxian took a closer look, not Qin Zhan and Yi Tianqi, who were they? However, at this moment, the auras of Qin Zhan and Yi Tianqi were all in decline. Especially Qin Zhan, although he is also the real monarch of the world, but the time to step into the world is still short, and he is not as good as Yi Tianqi, who has entered the world a long time ago. Palace Master Qin, I admire it. Yi Tianqi looked at Qin Zhan with a complicated expression and said sincerely. Cough, hee, are you still pulling me into your world? Qin Zhan coughed lightly and said with a sneer. Hearing these words, Yi Tianqi thought of the world where Qin Zhan was so horribly stunned, and the corners of his mouth twitched. Immediately, he turned to look at Qin Daoxian, who flew to Qin Zhan's side. Yi Tianqi had just fought Qin Zhan in the world he had created, and he still didn't know what was going on outside. Until Yun Kun rushed over and shouted, Tai Shinshui is in the hands of Qin Daoxian, the sect master must not let this thief run away. Hear this. Qin Zhan and Yi Tianqi's expressions suddenly changed. Yi Tianqi's face was gloomy, while Qin Zhan was shocked. He couldn't imagine how Qin Daoxian grabbed Tai Shinshui in the hands of nearly 100 Yuanying true monarchs. However, now is not the time to tinker with this. He quickly grabbed Qin Daoxuan's wrist and shouted, Why are you stunned? Hurry up and run. Say it. With a teleport, he wanted to disappear in place. Only. Qin Zhan moved fast, Yi Tianqi moved faster, Qin Daoxian felt a terrifying pressure imprisoning his body. World projection. He immediately reacted, this is the means that the real monarch of the world can use. Speaking of the world projection, it is somewhat similar to the source world projection of the world demon. But the power is much more powerful than the source world projection of the ordinary world monster. Of course, which is more powerful depends on the strength of the world monster and the monk. Qin Zhan couldn't help being a little surprised when he saw that Yi Tianqi could still cast the world projection. Old guy, your world is in a mess, and you dare to force the world projection, aren't you afraid that your world will completely collapse? There is no need for Qin Palace Master to worry about it. Hearing this, the relaxed expression on Qin Zhan's face disappeared and became extremely serious. He said to Qin Daoxian, "I want you to help me hold back the world of these people half a cup of tea." Seeing such a serious look on Qin Zhan's face for the first time, Qin Daoxian had a bad premonition in his heart, and quickly asked, "What do you want?" Qin Zhan looked at the Qingwei Taoist sect and said in a cold voice, "Give them some ruthlessness." Hear this. Qin Daoxian had a faint guess in his heart. Immediately agreed, "Okay. Hurry up, I will block them." "Brothers." Qin Zhan patted Qin Daoxian on the shoulder, and then took out a large golden bell. The moment I saw this big clock, the expression of Yi Tianqi, who had always looked indifferent, changed drastically. "Emperor Yu Bell." Immediately, he yelled at the group of Yuaning Jinjuan who kept coming, "Hurry up and stop him. Hurry up." Chapter 378. In the distance, Yuaning Jinjuan flew over quickly one after another. Later, the true monarch Yuanying of the three major sects did not understand the reason, and shouted loudly, asking Qin Daoxian to hand over the Taishan Shui. However, the members of the Xianqing Dao League all stared at Qin Zhan beside Qin Daoxian. Being locked by dozens of nascent soul true monarchs with their divine senses, Qin Daoxian felt an unprecedented psychological pressure. More importantly, this battle he can only deal with, cannot escape. Thinking of this, Qin Daoxian turned his head and said, "Come in first." Qin Zhan shook his hands, glanced at the Dongtian artifact in Qin Daoxian's hand, and nodded. Qin Daoxian waved his sleeves and immediately brought Qin Zhan into the small tower. However, perhaps Qin Zhan's Emperor Yes Zhongwei was too powerful. As soon as the other party entered the cave, a crack appeared on the tower of the small pagoda. Seeing this, Qin Daoxian's expression changed slightly. He knew in his heart that the heavenly cave artifact in his hand would not last long. "Qin Zhan, hurry up. I try my best." Hearing this, Qin Daoxian called out the Star Sword Dao map again. Brush. The star's kendo map unfolded directly, and a terrifying domain force erupted within the envelope of the star's kendo map. This terrifying domain force directly repelled Yi Tianqi's world projection. Seeing this scene, Yi Tianqi's expression suddenly changed. At this moment, he looked directly at Qin Daoxian. "Sixth order domain instruments?" Qin Daoxian didn't answer, his figure flickered and disappeared in place. "Want to run?" Yi Tian was surprised to see that after Qin Daoxian broke the confinement of the world projection, he teleported again, and suddenly felt a little headache. Nascent soul monks who are proficient in the laws of space are considered the most difficult of all nascent soul true monarchs, because they can perform teleportation techniques at any time. Even if the other true monarchs are much stronger than the true monarch nascent soul who is proficient in the laws of space, it will be difficult to catch them. It stands to reason that it would be much simpler for the true monarch of the world realm to deal with the true monarch nascent soul who is proficient in the laws of space. After all, once the world is projected, whether it is to imprison the space or bring the other party into the world created by him, can easily solve the problem that the other party is good at teleportation. However, Qin Daoxian is obviously not in this list. Because he is not only proficient in the laws of space, but also has a high-level domain-like magic tool in his hand that can compete with the world projection of the real monarch of the world, the star kendo map. With this picture, Yi Tianqi could neither imprison the space around Qin Daoxian, nor bring him into his own world. He could only watch the other party keep teleporting within the range of his consciousness, but he couldn't catch him. "Sect Master, this kid is dragging time." On the side, Yun Kuan saw Qin Daoxian's plan at a glance. Wu Sheng also frowned and cupped his hands. Alliance leader, this son was able to escape with the help of this treasure, but now he deliberately delays the time. Could it be that Qin Zhan is really capable of using the Emperor Yes Bell? The outside world has been rumored that the Qianyuan sword has the immortal weapon of the Emperor Zhongyu, but this rumor has never been confirmed. After all, thousands of years ago, Qianyuan Jianzong suffered a catastrophe that almost wiped out the family, and the other party did not use the Emperor Yu Bel. Therefore, the Xianqing Taoist League believed that the fact that Qianyuan Jianzong possessed immortal artifacts was mostly made up. Unexpectedly, the other party actually has a pure yang fairy weapon. You must know that this is a pure yang fairy weapon with a rank above all the magic tools, not to mention the first-class sect, that is, many transcendental robbery Tianzuan. It is not necessarily a pure yang fairy weapon. It is foreseeable that if the possession of Emperor Yes Bel by Emperor Qianyuan Jianzong is exposed today, perhaps in the future, Daojun Yuanshen and even Tianzuan Dujie will come to seek treasure. After all, the pure yang immortal artifact is much more attractive to monks above the primordial spirit stage than Tai Shin Shui. Do not know. Yi Tianqi tried to lock Chen Daoxuan's position with his divine sense, and replied, "But we can't bet, and we can't afford it." Hearing this, Wu Sheng turned his head to look at the sect of Qingwei Dao Pai Nuada, and knew in his heart what Yi Tianqi meant. The sect of the Qingwei Taoist sect not only has a high-level spiritual vein. There are also countless inheritances and disciples in it. Once attacked by the immortal weapon, the Qingwei Taoism may really decline completely. Although true monarch nascent soul is the foundation for the sect power, the inheritance of the sect and the large number of disciples are also the foundation of the sect power. Once these no longer exist, people like Yi Tianqi can only be regarded as a group of nascent soul loose cultivators. As the sect master of Xianyang sect, Wu Sheng could not know what Yi Tianqi was thinking. It's just that at the moment, Chen Daoxian avoided fighting, and they had no good way. Chen Daoxian. Yi Tianqi roared, "You have already captured the Tai Shin Shui, do you still want to kill them all?" Many times the consciousness lock is still in vain. Yi Tianqi was in a hurry. Listening to his tone, he actually started to soften. On the side, Wu Sheng looked at Yi Tianqi in surprise, but he didn't say anything after all. In any case, the Qingwei Daoist faction must not be attacked by immortal weapons. Wu Sheng glanced at the mountain protection formation of the Qingwei Taoist sect, and knew in his heart that the Sixth Order formation in front of him would definitely not be able to stop the attack of the immortal weapon. Chen Daoxian. What do you want? Make a price. Yi Tianqi continued to shout, "I know, you are not a disciple of the Qianyuan sword sect, and the Qianyuan sword sect can give you the Chen family 10 times, no, 100 times as much. As long as you hand over Qin Zhan, I can even swear on the avenue." Seeing that Chen Daoxian was unmoved, Yi Tianqi threatened, "Chen Daoxian, do you think it is a good thing that your strength has reached the level close to the real monarch of the world? Big mistake. I don't think you are aware of the impending disaster. Have you ever thought about how the Qianyuan sword sect will deal with a top powerhouse like you from the Chen family? As a family cultivator of Wan Xinghai, you must know about the disaster of the Qi family in Yuzhou, right? Now your Chen family is 10 times more threatening than the Qi family. How do you think Qianyuan Jianzong will treat your Chen family once they destroy my Xianqing Taoist League? Thousands of miles away. When Chen Daoxian heard Yi Tianqi's words, his heart could not help beating fiercely. I have to say that Yi Tianqi's remarks really hit Chen Daoxuan's weakness. Although his current strength is strong, he is still unable to compare with Qianyuan sword sect. However, his rise is too fast. Wouldn't Qianyuan Jianzong feel fear? If he had such a talented guest in the Chen family, would he be happy or worried about Chen Daoxian? After all, the cultivator of his Chen family is not a direct disciple of Qianyuan Jianzong. The two sides are always separated by a layer. Zayatadong Day. Qin Zhan also seemed to sense Chen Daoxuan's restlessness, and he quickly said, "Brother Chen wants to listen to the nonsense of that idiot." The reason for the Qi family's affairs is complicated, and it cannot be explained clearly in a few words. I, Qin Zhanke, make a great oath here. As long as your Chen family does not take the initiative to attack my Qianyuan sword sect, my Qianyuan sword sect will never do the thing of crossing the river and demolishing the bridge. Brother Qin is serious. Qianyuan Jianzong has ruled Wan Xinghai for so many years. I can trust the Qin family. Hearing this, Qin Zhan breathed a sigh of relief. So close. This Dog Day Yi Tianqi is really provocative. Qin Zhan secretly hated in his heart. Time passed little by little. Yi Tianqi could never lock Chen Daoxuan's position, his heart sank little by little. He immediately said to Yun Kun, notify the disciples in the sect to fully open the formation. Afterwards, he sent a voice transmission to the much younger palace master Yue, bring the elite disciples of the sect and escape. Guyin Palace Lord Yu's beautiful eyes froze for a moment. Quick! Yi Tianqi stared sharply. Palace Master Yue didn't say a word, and flew into the sect with a flash of light. The nascent sole true monarch of the three major sects is also quietly staying aside at this moment. The fact that things have developed to this point is not what everyone expected. They never thought that the two people in the Qianyuan Jianzong district would not only grab the Tai Shin Shui, but may also severely damage the entire Qingwei Taoist sect in one fell swoop. This moment. The three major sects finally felt the fear of the Xianqing Dao League when it faced the Qianyuan sword sect. After a stick of incense, Chen Daoxian saw more and more cracks on the small pagoda, his face changed suddenly, and he was about to release Qin Zhan with Yu Huangzhong. I saw that Qin Zhan and the Emperor Yu in his hands had turned into a blazing sun. In the sky, in addition to the original sun, another sun appeared. The terrifying momentum pushed Chen Daoxian back hundreds of miles. Looking at the Emperor Yu Bell in Qin Zhan's hands, Chen Daoxian murmured, is this the real pure yang immortal artifact? Brother Chen, hold on for a while. Okay. Chen Daoxian looked at Yi Tianqi who was rushing towards Qin Zhan. In front of him, the three immortal swords merged into one again. Roll! Yi Tianqi roared angrily and ignored it, trying to blow Chen Daoxian away with one punch, interrupting Qin Zhan's use of the Emperor Yes Bell. Humph! Chen Daoxian snorted coldly. The golden giant sword rushed towards Yi Tianqi, and at the same time, the star sword Dao map exploded with all his strength, and the terrifying power of the domain suppressed Yi Tianqi, directly compressing his world projection to less than 10 miles. Yi Tianqi shouted, Yun Kun, stop him. Yes, Sect Master. In Yun Kun's hand, a golden seal rose up in the wind. On the seal, the power of 3 laws entwined. Chen Daoxian felt that the power of this blow might be able to directly wipe out the peak of tens of thousands of feet. However, Chen Daoxian did not retreat but advanced, and the Xingqian Kendo map suppressed it, blocking the speed of the bombardment of the golden seal for a moment. Then, the golden giant sword slashed directly at Yi Tianqi. Boom! Forced to be helpless, Yi Tianqi fought with Chen Daoxian recklessly, and his body was suddenly ejected hundreds of miles away. At this time, Yun Kun's golden seal finally arrived. Chen Daoxuan's complexion was condensed, the golden giant sword dissipated in an instant, and in front of him, it recondensed into a round shield made of the combination of 3 laws. His hands were also staggered in front of his chest. Boom! With a single blow, the circular shield of the law shattered, and Chen Daoxian was smashed hundreds of miles away by the golden seal. Puff! A mouthful of blood spit out, and Chen Daoxuan's arms trembled slightly. But fortunately, the defense of the 6th Order Power Spirit armor is amazing, and after this blow, it was unscathed. Yi Tianqi and Yun Kun, who were slashed by Chen Daoxuan's sword, were about to regroup and attack Qin Zhan again, only to find that the space in front of them was jelly-like and extremely sticky. The fairy. Yun Kun looked at the golden Yu Huangzhong in Qin Zhan's hands in horror, grabbed Yi Tianqi who was about to continue his desperate efforts, and shouted, Let's go! Let's go! Hee, I want to go! Qin Zhan's face was pale, but his eyes were bright. He looked at Yi Tianqi, Yun Kun, and the group of Yuanying Jinjuan of the Xianqing Dao League who were rushing behind him, and said coldly, Go to hell. Sect Master, go. Yun Kun held down Yi Tianqi, exhausted 90% of his mana, and finally tore a crack in the viscous space that was enough for one person to pass. The old man is already nearing his lifespan, but the sect master cannot die, and the Qingwei Taoism cannot be destroyed. Saying that, he pushed Yi Tianqi into the space crack. Making this action, Yun Kun watched the scorching sun in front of him swallow him little by little. This moment, everything that stood in front of Yu Huangzhong, whether it was people or other things, was like snow under the scorching sun, melting and vaporizing little by little. The first to bear the brunt is the second strongest of the Qingwei Taoist sect, Elder Yun Kun. Yu Huangzhong pushed horizontally all the way, and the Yuanying Zhenjuan standing in front of it, one after another, was vaporized and dissolved. The Yuanying Zhenjuan of the Xianqing Dao League wanted to run away, but they were like insects on a spider web, they could only struggle, but could not escape. This is because Qin Zhan can't fully exert the power of the immortal tool, otherwise these people can't even struggle. On the side, Chen Daoxian stared blankly at the scene in front of him. Shocked inside. This is the pure Yang immortal artifact, the biggest trump card of Qianyuan sword sect. In one blow, the Xianqing Dao League, including Yun Kun, lost a total of 17 Yuanying true monarchs. The people from the three major sects avoided them early. However, Yu Huangzhong's attack did not stop. Boom! Yu Huangzhong slammed into the mountain protection formation of the Qingwei Taoist sect. In Chen Daoxuan's eyes, the sixth-rank high-grade mountain protection formation with extremely terrifying defensive power was attacked by Yu Huangzhong. Fragile like a piece of paper, the array light curtain is easily torn to shreds. Next moment, the main spiritual vein of the Qingwei Taoist sect was directly hit by Yu Huangzhong. A terrifying shock wave, like a water pattern, erupted in the main spiritual vein of the Qingwei Taoist sect, circle after circle, as if it would never stop. Space was torn to shreds by the explosion. Space black holes formed in this void. This is not the small void black hole caused by Chen Daoxuan's attack. Yu Huangzhong's blow caused the void black hole to be large or small. The big one is 100 times bigger than the one created by Chen Daoxian, and the small one is the same size as the one created by Chen Daoxian. Such void black holes are densely packed throughout the entire Qingwei Taoist sect. Under the pull of these void black holes, the Lingshan and disciples of the Qingwei Taoist sect were all attracted and torn by it, and finally became the nourishment for repairing the void black holes. Crying and wailing, resounding. At this moment, whether it is a cultivator in the qi refining stage or a cultivator in the Jindan stage, there is no difference in front of the void black hole. Looking at this scene, a nascent soul true monarch of the three major sects in the distance muttered, the Qingwei Dao sect is over. Yeah, it's over. The sect master of Tianyinzong has extremely complicated eyes. Immediately, they looked at Qin Zhan and Chen Daoxian. At this moment, Qin Zhan just waved his hand to put away the Emperor Yes bell, and his face was as pale as paper. Go! Chen Daoxian nodded, grabbed Qin Zhan's arm, and with a flash, the two disappeared in place. From beginning to end, no one dared to stop them. Chapter 379. Twin Peaks. Inside a refined and elegant fairy palace. A woman with a graceful figure and a beautiful face, leaning on a railing overlooking the mountain stream and the sea of clouds. Beside her, a qi-refining female maid bowed her head and waited. Since Chen Daoxian killed the two Jindan monks entrenched in the Shuangsheng Peak, most of the low-level monks on this spiritual vein have switched to menting, relying on Xiling. Chen Daoxian had no intention of paying any attention to these low-level monks from Izumo. Usually, he is left to Xiling to take care of it. During this period of time, Xiling has also been well organized. Chen Daoxian used Shuangshengfeng as a stronghold to continuously attack and kill the transportation line of Xianqing Daomeng, but there was no low-level monk from Shuangshengfeng to inform. it can be seen that Xiling's means of managing subordinates are very good. The personal maid next to her, Xiaolu, was selected by Xiling from the many low-level chi-refining monks in Shuangsheng Peak. Xiling looked at the sea of clouds, put her hands on her cheeks, and said to herself, "You said, will he come back?" On the side, the maid who kept her head down, wearing a light green gauze, raised her head, thought for a moment and said, "This servant thinks that Chen Jinren will definitely come back." Oh. Hearing this, Xiling immediately became interested and turned to look at her. "Why do you see it?" Seeing the happy expression on the master's pretty face, Xiala's courage gradually grew. She bowed her head and said slowly, "With the beauty of the young lady, how can there be no reason for men in the world to not be moved? Although Chen Zhenren's cultivation base is high, he is also a man. In addition, Miss Nainin and mysterious body has been coveted by countless male cultivators. If Chen Jinren is looking for a dual cultivator companion, she will definitely choose you, Mississippi." Hearing this, Xiling's pretty face blushed at first, and then she spat softly, and said softly, "What covetousness, I'm really not ashamed to speak." Seeing the master's appearance, Xiaolu pleaded guilty, then covered his mouth and laughed softly. Seeing that Xiaolu still dared to laugh at her, Xiling's face turned even redder, and she raised her hand to fight. Who knows? The space in front of him fluctuated like a stream of water. Immediately afterwards, two figures appeared in front of Xiling and Xiaolu. One of the figures staggered, and then stood firm. But Xiling didn't have the time to pay attention to this staggering cultivator. Even if the other party was true monarch Yuaning, all her mind at the moment was focused on the cultivator next to Qin Zhan. "Brother Chen." Surprised, Xiling hurried forward and pulled Qin Daoxuan's sleeve uncontrollably. "Are you back?" "I have seen Chen Jinren." Seeing Qin Daoxian, Xiaolu hurriedly saluted. Qin Daoxian nodded, then waved, "Go out first." "Yes, Chen Jinren." Xiaolu responded immediately and slowly exited Asgard. This time, only Xiling, Qin Daoxian and Qin Zhan were left in the immortal palace. Qin Zhan first glanced at Qin Daoxian, then glanced at Xiling again, with a faint smile on the corner of his mouth. He joked to Qin Daoxuan's voice transmission, "Brother Chen is really unrestrained and unrestrained. He came to go out of the country to fight, and he didn't forget to find a confidant, heard." Qin Daoxian glanced at him expressionlessly, then looked at Xiling, and introduced, "This is Qin Zhan, the head of the Zhenhai Temple of Qianyuan Sword Sect. This is Zi, who was rescued by me in Jinyuan Xianqing by chance." Fairy Ling. After a brief introduction, Qin Daoxian said to Xiling, "Fairy, don't worry, since I promised to protect you, I will never break my promise. It's just that I still have one important thing to do right now, so I'll ask Hall Master Qin to take care of you for a while." Having said that, Qin Daoxian looked at Qin Zhan again. "This place is secluded and it is a good place for cultivation. You can recuperate here, and Fairy Xiling will ask you to take care of it for the time being." Hearing this, Qin Zhan sighed and said, "I hope Brother Chen will handle the matter of the Jiang family carefully. It seems that my Qianyuan sword sect has won a great victory in this battle, but the Tai Shinshui you got is not used to improve your own cultivation. It's to save people. My Wan Xinghai's strength has not improved in essence, but in the eyes of the outside world, I am afraid that my Qianyuan sword sect has become their confidant. After this battle, the three major sects are very likely to join forces with the Xianqing Dao League. Therefore, I can't be chaotic within the Wangxinghai, do you understand?" Hearing this, Qin Daoxian thought for a while, and then said, "I can't guarantee what I will do. It depends on how the Jiang family treats my 13th uncle." Although Qin Daoxuan's tone was flat, Qin Zhan felt the anger he couldn't suppress under his flat tone. "The Jiang family." Qin Zhan shook his head, "Forget it, let's go." After all, Qin Zhan no longer persuades him. Qin Daoxian cupped his hands towards the opponent, and his figure disappeared instantly. Until he left, Qin Daoxian didn't say a second word to Xiling. Xiling looked at the place where Qin Daoxian disappeared, and was lost. Wangxinghai Southeast Waters. Taizhou, Extreme Night Immortal City. Most of the buildings in Extreme Night Immortal City are dominated by black tones, which are very solemn and solemn. Inside the fairy city. Jiang family land, in a towering floating fairy palace. A cultivator with silver hair in a black Taoist robe stood with his arms and hands, and he was holding a jade communication talisman in his hand. The silver-haired cultivator turned around, and it turned out to be Jiang Taiyuan, the head of the Jiang family who went to the Qin family half a year ago to kidnap Qin Xianhe, the old patriarch of the Qin family. Come in. Outside the door, a cultivator from the Purple Mansion walked in tremblingly. Seeing the ancestor of the family, his body trembled even more. The Zifu cultivator in front of him is Jiang Chenai, the Daozi of the Jiang family. During this time, he was responsible for taking care of Qin Xianhe. In addition, Jiang Taiyuan had already said hello in advance, to let Jiang Qin take care of Qin Xianhe well at night, and Qin Xianhe must not be allowed to have an accident. Just now, Jiang Taiyuan just received a message. Qin Zhan and Qin Daoxian, the masters of Zhenhai Hall, raided the Qingwei Taoist faction and stole Tai Shin Shui from the Qingwei Taoist faction. After hearing the news, Jiang Taiyuan felt as if a magnitude 18 earthquake had set off in his heart. Qianyuan Jianzong actually snatched the Tai Shin Shui from the Qingwei Taoist faction. The reason why Jiang Taiyuan is willing to hold the treasure on Xianqing Daomeng even when Qianyuan sword sect is on the verge of breaking out, apart from the treasures given by the other party, his Jiang family cannot refuse, there is another important reason, that is, the Qingwei Daoist sect has Tai Shin Shui. In Jiang Taiyuan's view, Tai Shin Shui is an excellent artifact for the Xianqing Dao League to turn the tide against the wind and change the situation of the battle. Such a treasure, the Xianqing Dao League actually lost it. This made Jiang Taiyuan almost want to vomit blood. But this is the end of the matter, and regretting it will not help. Now, what the Jiang family can do is to try to make up for their relationship with the Qin family, and in the next period of time, the Jiang family must be as low-key as possible, and in the future standing team, the Jiang family must be firm standing behind Qianyuan Jianzong. Only in this way can the Jiang family be preserved. Fortunately, in Jiang Taiyuan's eyes, Qianyuan Jianzong should not touch the Jiang family in a short time. First, the Jiang family is the backbone of the Yi Yin faction, the third elder of Qianyuan Jianzong. Second, the crisis faced by Qianyuan Jianzong did not end. Gu Yuan, although Qianyuan Jianzong grabbed Tai Shin Shui, Qianyuan Jianzong did not give birth to monks in the Yuanqin period. At least, the Xianqing Dao League still has the strength to resist. No matter how bad it is, the Xianqing Dao League can still ask the surrounding sect forces for help. I believe that no sect is willing to see a sect that is in full swing rising near them. Next, these sects are bound to frantically pull its hind legs behind Qianyuan Jianzong. In this way, Qianyuan Jianzong has to rely even more on the local forces of Wanxinghai. Although the scattered cultivator broke out with unprecedented brilliance in the battle between the Qianyuan sword sect and the Xianqing Taoist alliance, the power of the family is no weaker than that of the scattered cultivator. Perhaps the number of nascent soul cultivators in the family power is not as many as that of the loose cultivator nascent soul, but the cultivation base and strength of the family's true monarch nascent soul is far more than those of the loose cultivation true monarchs. The Jiang family has always tolerated Yuanqin Jinjuan, not because he lacked the strength to destroy the other party, but because it involved too much to destroy Yuanqin Xiancheng. Doing so is equivalent to giving Qianyuan Jianzong a chance to destroy his Jiang family in an open and honest manner. Jiang Taiyuan is not stupid, so naturally he would not do such stupid things. In the same way, what the Jiang family did to the Qin family this time made the Qin family extremely angry, but it was within the rules set by Qianyuan Jianzong. No matter how dissatisfied Qianyuan Jianzong was, he couldn't move his Jiang family. Otherwise, Wanxinghai will have civil strife. At that time, under the internal and external troubles, Qianyuan Jianzong will have to follow in the footsteps of the Wei Dao faction. Regardless of how powerful a sect is, it will only take minutes if it really wants to decline. In the history of Xianyunzhu, such lessons abound. Seeing Jiang Chenai, Jiang Taiyuan had a kind expression on his face. Although Jiang Chenye's talent is far from comparable to that of Chen Daoxian, he is also considered to be the top arrogance of the Jiang family. Jiang Taiyuan was always heartily happy to see the outstanding descendants of the family. "Dust Knight, what's the matter?" Hearing this, Jiang Chenye's body trembled even more. He trembled and said, "Ancestor, Qin Xianhe, he." The kindness on Jiang Taiyuan's face disappeared instantly. His figure flashed, and he suddenly appeared in front of Jiang Chenai, grabbed his collar, and said solemnly, "Come on, what's wrong with Qin Xianhe?" Jiang Chenai was heartbroken, closed his eyes and said, "I'm afraid Qin Xianhe is about to die." "What?" Jiang Taiyuan suddenly became anxious. "Why can't he do it? Didn't I let you take care of him? Could it be that you took revenge and tortured him on purpose?" Jiang Taiyuan's eyes were cold, and his whole body exuded coldness. Hearing this, Jiang Chenai was so frightened that he immediately fell to his knees, kowtows continuously, and cried out in grief, "Old ancestor Mingjian, that Qin Xianhe is only a low-level cultivator of the 9th-level qi refining period. It's a miracle that his Shou Yuan can last until now. His Shou Yuan is about to die. It really has nothing to do with me. Besides, with Patriarch's purpose, even if you gave me 10 courage, I wouldn't dare to retaliate against him, Qin Xianhe." Seeing Jiang Chenye's appearance, Jiang Taiyuan said coldly, "Get out of the way first, and come and see with me." "Yes, yes, yes." Jiang Chenai stood up immediately. Jiang Taiyuan waved his sleeves, and the two figures disappeared directly on the spot. Izumo Kingdom, Jinan Xiancheng. At this time, it has been almost a year since the Jinan army recovered Jinan Pass. During this period of time, under the vigorous management of Fairy Qi Yao, Jinan Xiancheng not only regained its vitality, but also transformed from a frontline Xiancheng into a logistics supply Xiancheng. Now, with the continuous victory of Qianyuan Jianzong's war against the Xianqing Dao League, the fronts of the two sides are constantly advancing towards the control area of the Xianqing Dao League. Seeing that, almost the entire Izumo Kingdom will be brought under the control of Qianyuan sword sect. This Jinan Xiancheng, which was originally located on the front line, naturally became a rear supply base. In Jinan Xiancheng, it is located in the city lord's mansion at the core location. Luo Li, Qin Daoyan and Qi Yao were walking in the courtyard. The last time Qin Xianhe was kidnapped by the Jiang family, Qin Daoyan took Luo Li to Qianyuan Jianzong immediately, and took the space teleportation array of Qianyuan Jianzong to Jinan Xiancheng. Originally, Qin Daoyan expected to find Qin Daoxian here. After all, the Jiang family kidnapped Qin Xianhe, and the matter involved Yuani Yingjinjuan, which was beyond Qin Daolian's ability. But she didn't expect that Qin Daoxian was not in Jinan Xiancheng, but went to the enemy's hinterland. This time, Qin Daolian was a little blinded. Even, due to the distance between the two sides, Qin Daoxian's position was erratic. Not to mention that her communication jade talisman could not contact the other party. Even the Shadow Palace of Qianyuan sword sect did not know the specific location of Qin Daoxian. Therefore, Qin Daolian decided to stay in this fairy city. This stay is half a year. Qin Daolian stayed here. In addition to waiting for Qin Daoxian, there was another consideration, that is, he was afraid that the Jiang family would continue to attack Luo Li. Previously, Qin Xianhe tried desperately to protect Luo Li, and Qin Daolian would naturally not let Luo Li fall into Jiang Taiyuan's hands again. Seeing that Luo Li and Qin Daolian had been frowning all the time, Qi Yao said with relief, "Two sisters, don't worry, when the war here is over, Qianyuan Jianzong will definitely give the Qin family an explanation." Hear this. Qin Daolian squeezed a smile on her face, nodded and said, "Thank you Fairy Qi Yao." Aside, Luo Li was about to say something. I saw the space in front of me fluctuated, and then, a figure that she had been waiting for a long time appeared in front of her. Chen. Chen Lang. Luo Li covered her mouth and almost tremblingly shouted out these words. Immediately afterwards, she rushed towards Chen Daoxian and hugged him tightly with both hands. At this moment, Luo Li's tears, like broken pearls, kept falling on her cheeks. Sorry, I came back late. Chen Daoxian knew that Luo Li had endured too much psychological pressure during this time. Because in her opinion, Chen Xianhe was taken away voluntarily by Jiang Taishu because of her. In the eyes of kind people, no matter what problem occurs, they will always find their own reasons for the first time, and attribute the fault to themselves. Luo Li is such a person. Young patriarch. When Chen Daoyan saw Chen Daoxian, her eyes were flushed with excitement, and her voice became trembling. Then, she didn't care about anything else, and rushed up to hug Chen Daoxian. On the side, Fairy Qi Yao looked at the three people who were hugging together with a complicated expression. Half an hour. Chen Daoxian patted the two girls on the shoulders and said, "Let go, there are still people there." Heard. Chen Daoyan didn't feel anything, but Luo Li blushed, and quickly let go of Chen Daoxian. Chen Daoxian then bowed to Qi Yao and said, "Fairy, I want to use the space in the city to teleport for a while." Okay. Fairy Qi Yao nodded. Chapter 380. Wangxinghai. Qianyuan Jianzong Zongmen resident. In front of the space teleportation array. One after another silhouettes kept appearing on the giant space teleportation array. A monk who maintains the operation of the teleportation array stood beside the giant teleportation array and said loudly, "Please leave the teleportation formation base quickly, fellow Taoists, and don't block the fellow Taoists behind. Please, fellow Taoists, please leave the teleportation formation quickly, and don't block the fellow Taoists behind." Brush. Suddenly, three figures appeared on the space teleportation formation. It was Chen Daoxian, Chen Daoyan and Luo Li. Compared with Chen Daoxuan's steady steps, Chen Daoyan and Luo Li were staggering and their bodies were a little unstable. Chen Daoyan stroked his forehead and sighed, "This teleportation formation is convenient, but it is too unfriendly to us low-level monks. Every time I use it, it will be uncomfortable for a long time." Hearing this, Chen Daoxian smiled and said, "Even so, it's still much more convenient than taking an immortal boat." He paused for a while, then looked at Luo Li again. "Liar, you and Dao Yan will go back to the Hui clan later in the immortal boat. I'll go to Jiang's house first." Hearing this, Luo Li's heart tightened. She stepped forward, grabbed Chen Daoxuan's sleeve, and said, "Be careful in everything." Chen Daoxian patted her weak shoulder and said warmly, "Don't worry, it's not me who should be careful, but Jiang Taiyuan." "Say it." Chen Daoxian nodded to Chen Daoyan, and his figure disappeared instantly. When the figure reappeared, Chen Daoxian had already arrived in front of the mountain protection formation of Qianyuan Jianzong. "Who dares to trespass my Qianyuan sword sect?" Chen Daoxuan's reckless move immediately attracted the monks guarding the defensive formation of Qianyuan Jianzong to fly with their swords. "Open the formation." Chen Daoxian snorted coldly and looked sternly at the disciples of Qianyuan sword sect who came to Yujian. "Hear this." The face of the leader of the Jindan Jinren immediately showed an angry look. Since his cultivation, it was the first time he had seen such a tyrannical person in the Qianyuan Jianzong Zongmen's residence. "You." However, when he saw Chen Daoxuan's face clearly, he was held back before he could say the swearing words. "Qin Jinren." The headed Jindan cultivator immediately lowered his head in fear, and his face no longer had the anger that was just now. The lower-level cultivators immediately after hearing the name Chen Jinren immediately remembered something, and all bowed their heads and saluted Chen Daoxian. Although Chen Daoxian and Qin Zhan's record of breaking the Qingwei Taoism has not yet spread, but his previous record has long been buzzing in the entire Wangxinghai. Qin Daoxian first killed the late Yuanying monks alone and recovered Zenangwen, and then he went deep behind the enemy to destroy the enemy's logistics transportation. All kinds of incredible achievements have long made Qin Daoxian famous in Wangxinghai. Qin Daoxuan's fame this time is not only limited to the circle of Jindan cultivators, but from top to bottom, from nascent soul true monarch to the bottom tier refining cultivators, all of them have heard of Qin Daoxuan's name. What is the name of moving Wangxinghai? This is it. It is no exaggeration to say that the current Qin Daoxian is even more famous in Wanxinghai than Qin Zhan, the master of Zhenhai Palace. This is not to say that Qin Daoxian is definitely stronger than Qin Zhan. As long as Qin Zhan was mainly responsible for suppressing the alien race under the sea of Wangxinghai, to the outside world, his cultivation and strength were not at a certain level, and he had never heard of Qin Zhan's name. But Qin Daoxian is different. The Izumo War is a national concern in Wangxinghai. Even mortals who don't care much about monk wars have heard of Wan Xinghai's war with Izumo, let alone the circle of monks. In the eyes of the cultivators, the war between Wanxinghai and Izumo is the best way for the loose cultivators to achieve class leap. And in the world of practice, the most numerous ones are just loose cultivation. This led to the fact that anyone who made a name for himself on the battlefield of Izumo Kingdom would become famous in the circle of cultivators of Wanxinghai. This was the case with Ji Suhui, a cultivator of the Ji family who was beheaded by Qin Daoxian before. In terms of strength, although Ji Suhui's strength is at the top level among Jindan cultivators, it is far from the level of an invincible real person, let alone compared to today's Qin Daoxian. But it is such a person who is not ranked among the high-level monks in Wanxinghai, but has a great reputation in Wanxinghai. The main reason is that Ji Suhui's reputation on the battlefield of Izumo is very bluffing. Perhaps in the eyes of the real powerhouse, Ji Suhui's wanton slaughter of the weak is disgusting, but to the bottom cultivators, Ji Suhui's reputation is even louder than that of the ordinary Yuaning Zhenjuan. This shows how exaggerated Qin Daoxuan's current reputation is in Wanxinghai. This is also the reason why Jiang Taiyuan was so flustered when he learned that the Qingwei Taoist sect had lost Tai Shinshui. To describe the current Qin Daoxian in one word, that is the general trend. Today's Qin Daoxian and the Qin family behind him are not inferior to any Yuanying family in Wanxinghai. Although the Qin family's family accumulation is slightly weak, with the unique industrial production capacity of the Qin family, these gaps will soon be filled. Most importantly, in terms of high-end combat power, the Qin family is not inferior to any nascent soul family in Wanxinghai, or even stronger. Based on Qin Daoxuan's estimation of his own strength, based on his current strength, he dare not say that Wanxinghai is in the top 3, or at least the top 5. The specific rankings will have to be played to know. At least judging from the brief fight between Qin Daoxian and Yi Tianqi, he felt that the real monarch of the world was nothing more than that. Southwest waters of Wangxinghai. Taizhou, extreme night immortal city. Boom! A heavy door was pushed open, and then, 2 figures walked into the fairy palace one after the other. Central Palace. An old man with scattered white hair and apathetic was sitting cross-legged on a futon. The old man's figure was particularly thin, as if a gust of wind could blow him down. Jiang Taiyuan walked into Asgard, and upon seeing this, his face was ashen. Half an hour. He took a deep breath, his face returned to indifference, and walked slowly to Qin Xianhe. Qin Xianhe. Jiang Taiyuan called out softly, but Qin Xianhe didn't notice. Jiang Taiyuan frowned slightly and raised his voice, Qin Xianhe. This time, Qin Xianhe finally realized something and slowly raised his head. The cloudy eyes slowly opened, and after a long time, the focus in his eyes was realigned, and he could see the person coming. A smile appeared on Qin Xian's face, and he wanted to say something, but found that his voice was already hoarse. Jiang Taiyuan stepped forward. The palm of his hand caressed the top of Qin Xian's head, and a purple brilliance was injected into Qin Xian's body. Suddenly, Qin Xianhe became energetic again. Yuanying essence. Aside, Jiang Chenai swallowed lightly, shaking his heart. He didn't expect that the old ancestor would take this Qin Xianhe so seriously, and he was willing to inject the essence of nascent soul into the other's body. You must know that nascent soul essence is related to the foundation of a nascent soul cultivator. If it is damaged too much, it will cause the cultivation of the nascent soul cultivator to go backwards, and the consequences will be very serious. Generally speaking, even if it is a real son, the nascent soul cultivator will not easily deplete the nascent soul essence for him. After getting the essence of nascent soul from Jiang Taiyuan, Qin Xianhe was finally able to speak. Gu Yang, Ancestor Jiang doesn't have to waste his energy. I am the end of my life, and the medicine stone can't be saved. I know, Jiang Taiyuan nodded, whether you die or not has nothing to do with my Jiang family, but the problem is, you can't die in Taizhou, let alone in my Jiang family. Hear this. Chen Ziyan's face suddenly showed joy. He grabbed Jiang Taiyuan's sleeve and said excitedly, my nephew won, did he win? Qin Xianhe murmured, I know, he will definitely win, ha 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 ha, cough cough. Jiang Taiyuan's heart twitched violently when he saw Qin Xianhe so excited. He was really afraid that the other party wouldn't be able to get up in such a breath and died directly in the Jiang family. With what he knew about Qin Daoxian, once Qin Xianhe died in the Jiang family, the two sides would really have to die. Jiang Taiyuan once knew Qin Daoxian in detail, and the more he knew about him, the more Jiang Taiyuan was afraid of this person. If it wasn't for the price offered by the Qingwei Daoist faction, he couldn't refuse, and he knew that the Qingwei Daoist faction also had the trump card of Tai Shinshui, and he would never have chosen to stand in line at this moment. Unfortunately, what the world lacks the most is regret medicine. Let's go, I'll take you back to Chen's house. Don't waste your effort, Qin Xianhe shook his head, do you think that with my current situation, I can survive the exhaustion from Taizhou to Cangzhou? Hearing this, Jiang Taiyuan frowned. Indeed, Qin Ziyan's situation was worse than he imagined. After getting a mouthful of nascent soul essence to continue his life, it is a bit unbelievable that he is still in such a poor state. Jiang Taiyuan could feel that Qin Ziyan's soul was on the verge of collapse. Unless he had the treasure of purifying the soul, he would never be able to save this person. But if he had this kind of treasure in his hand, how could it be his turn to rescue Qin Xianhe? Jiang Taiyuan would have used it long ago to improve his own strength. The Jiang family has been developing in a low-key manner for so many years, and Jiang Taiyuan himself is also very low-key. The outside world has never known that Jiang Taiyuan had already entered the top real monarch level. It's ridiculous that Jinjuan Yuanchen thought that he didn't kill the opponent back then because he was not strong enough. In fact, it was just acting for outsiders to see. Back then, when the Jiang family really wanted to kill Yuan Chen, why should the three real emperors of the Jiang family take action? Jiang Taiyuan alone was enough. Jiang Taiyuan looked at Qin Xianhe and thought quietly. Taking the other party to continuously use space teleportation to go to the Qin family in Cangzhou is undoubtedly sending a body to the Qin family. Even Qin Daoyan and Luoli couldn't bear the damage caused by constant teleportation, not to mention Qin Xianhe who was only breathing. As for using the spirit boat to send Qin Xianhe back, Jiang Taiyuan was very doubtful whether Qin Xianhe could last until that time. From Taizhou Gs Yanqing to Shuanghu Island in Cangzhou Guang'an Prefecture, even if you take the fastest spirit boat, it will take at least 10 days and a half months. But with Qin Ziyan's physical condition, how could he last another 10 days and a half months? Even if he kept injecting the essence of nascent soul into Qin Xianhe, the other party would be able to support him for 3 days at most. A time. Jiang Taiyuan couldn't help but fall into a dilemma. Thinking of this, he was even more dissatisfied with Jiang Qinye's actions. Qin Ziyan's health is so poor, why did he wait until this time to inform him? It is also fortunate that Jiang Chenai did not know what his ancestors thought, otherwise he would have shouted injustice. Because before, Jiang Taiyuan didn't care about Qin Ziyan's life or death at all. In his opinion, the Xianqing Dao League has Tai Shin Shui, and it is very likely to turn the tables against the wind. The Jiang family's arrest of Qin Xianhe is only the first step. When Yuanshan Daojun was born in the Xianqing Dao League and organized a counterattack, his Jiang family would have to cooperate with each other and greet the opponent. It's just that Jiang Taiyuan didn't expect that the Xianqing Dao League was so unsatisfactory. Not even a treasure like Tai Shin Shui. Jiang Taiyuan couldn't help but glared at Jiang Chenai next to him, not knowing whether it was Jiang Chenai or Xianqing Dao Meng. He scolded in a low voice, "What a bunch of trash." When Jiang Chenai heard this, he immediately fell to his knees, not daring to argue. Qin Xianhe knew that he was more happy. It is also an ancient anecdote to think that a cultivator in the chi-refining stage could see such an embarrassed posture of a true monarch nascent soul before his death. When Qin Daoxuan's figure reappeared, he had already entered the boundary of Taizhou. From the sect residence of Qianyuan Jianzong to Taizhou, it is millions of miles away. The farthest distance of each teleportation of Qin Daoxian is only more than 2,300 miles. In theory, Qin Daoxian has to perform teleportation more than 1,000 times in a row before he can reach Taizhou from Qianyuan Jianzong Zongmen. Continuously cast the farthest space teleportation more than 1,000 times, even with Qin Daoxuan's cultivation base, it is somewhat unsustainable. It's not that Qin Daoxuan's Dao realm is insufficient. In fact, based on Qin Daoxuan's understanding of the laws of space, not to mention performing teleportation more than 1,000 times, that is, performing 10,000 times, 100,000 times, as long as the mana is sufficient, it is not a big problem for him at all. For Qin Daoxian, the biggest problem is that his body is too weak. Every teleportation is not only a test of his Dao realm, but also a test of his physical body. However, this kind of test is difficult to offset with spirit armor. Although his natal spirit armor can weaken part of the space pressure, more space pressure still acts directly on his body. If you have to make an analogy, it is somewhat similar to thunder tribulation, but it is not as extreme as thunder tribulation, and needs to be completely resisted by oneself. Who? Qin Daoxian looked at the direction of Jie Xiancheng, and after adjusting his breath a little, he teleported towards Jie Xiancheng again. Is it funny? Jiang Taiyuan looked at Qin Xianhe mocking him wantonly, and his face became a little colder. He was in a bad mood at first, but seeing a chi-refining cultivator in Qin Xianhe at this moment dared to laugh at him, the anger in his heart could no longer be suppressed. Cough, it's funny, of course it's funny. Qin Xianhe grinned, I think that your Jiang family also has today. The old man feels very comfortable. Do you think Qin Daoxian can definitely beat me? Jiang Taiyuan lowered his head and looked at him, or do you think that Qianyuan Jianzong will destroy my big Jiang family for your little chi-refining cultivator? Qin Xianhe, you think too highly of yourself, and too little of my Jiang family. If that's the case, why are you still afraid? Qin Xianhe sneered. I am afraid. Jiang Taiyuan laughed loudly. Do you think that I am a dignified true monarch Yuanying, would be afraid? Do you think that Qin Daoxian can kill me by killing a true monarch of Qingwei Taoism? Jiang Taiyuan shook his head. You don't even know that the true monarch and the true monarch are different. Yes? In Immortal Palace, a familiar voice suddenly sounded, and then, a figure appeared in front of the three of them. Daoxian. Qin Daoxian. Qin Daoxian. Qin Daoxian stood beside Qin Xianhe, and with a wave of his hand, he was placed in the small tower in the cave. Immediately, he turned to look at Jiang Taiyuan, and said coldly, Tell me, how do you want to die? Chapter 381. In Asgard. Jiang Taiyuan narrowed his eyes slightly when he saw Qin Daoxian suddenly appear in front of him and put Qin Xianhe into the Dongtian magic weapon. Friend Qin, long time no see. Jiang Taiyuan didn't seem to hear Qin Daoxuan's provocative voice, and there was a smile on his face. He pointed to the seat where Qin Xianhe had just sat, and said with a smile, I just had a happy chat with the old patriarch Chen, and Dao Yuqin just arrived, which is really a coincidence. Behind Jiang Taiyuan, Jiang Chenai kept his head down. When he heard such shameless words of his ancestor, he had the urge to poke his ears on the spot. Qin Daoxian looked at Jiang Taiyuan expressionlessly, and said with a sneer, listening to Patriarch Jiang, I have to thank your Jiang family for taking care of my 13th uncle during this time. Jiang Taiyuan smiled and waved his hand, don't dare to take credit, don't dare to take credit. I live with Nima's work. Qin Daoxian exclaimed. Immediately, the spirit armor of life covered his whole body, and then, the two laws of water and fire were wrapped around his fist, and a punch slammed towards Jiang Taiyuan. Boom! A loud bang. Noah Das Asgard was instantly turned into powder with this punch. Standing not far from Jiang Taiyuan and Qin Xianhe, Jiang Chenai was the first to bear the brunt, and was directly vaporized under this terrifying shock wave. A dignified monk in the late period of the Z Mansion did not even block the aftermath of the fight between the two. Inside the extreme night immortal city, countless cultivators were frightened by the explosion of the floating fairy palace in the sky, and then shouted. True monarch Yuanying. Could it be that true monarch Yuanying invaded extreme night immortal city? I don't know which true monarch it is. Could it be true monarch Yuanchen? He dares to attack Jie Xiancheng, and is not afraid that Jiang Laozu will kill him? The response of the high-level monks was not slow. The moment the floating immortal palace exploded, they all flew towards the outside of the extreme night immortal city. Ordinary monks do not have the qualifications to watch the battle between Yuaning and Juan. As for the low-level monks in extreme night immortal city, it's even worse. High-level monks can still fly in the light. Due to the existence of the forbidden air formation in extreme night immortal city, low-level monks can only rely on lightweight spells and other spells to speed up their walking speed. However, given the area of the immortal city of extreme night, if you escape on foot, do you have to run to the year of the monkey and the month of the horse? For a time, the immortal city of extreme night was in chaos. In the sky, two figures flew out from the ruins of the Asgard Palace. It was Qin Daoxian and Jiang Taiyuan. Qin Daoxian was wearing a blue spirit armor, which reflected a dazzling brilliance under the sunlight. As for the other side, Jiang Taiyuan abruptly endured a punch from Qin Daoxian's fusion of the two laws of water and fire, which was really uncomfortable, especially Qin Daoxian's punch. Although he put on the spirit armor at a critical moment, the injuries he suffered were not light. Cough cough cough. Jiang Taiyuan coughed violently, and black mist continued to escape from his body. Qin Daoxian recognized at a glance that these black mists were the inextinguishable true meaning of the Yuanying true monarch's integration into the flesh. It seems that Jiang Taiyuan has not yet condensed the indestructible real body. Qin Daoxian judged the physical realm of the other party at a glance, otherwise it should not be the black mist escaping from the physical body at this moment, but the indestructible real meaning recondensed. You actually stepped into the level of a top true monarch. Jiang Taiyuan pointed at Qin Daoxian, his eyes full of incredulity. Although he learned that Qin Zhan and Qin Daoxian snatched Tai Shinshui from the Qingwei Taoist faction, he did not know the process of snatching. In his eyes, Qin Daoxian only used soy sauce in the past, and the main force to Tai Shinshui must be the master of Zhenhai Temple. Thinking about it, I'm afraid things are not as simple as he imagined. But, why? Jiang Taiyuan's face was full of inconceivable expressions. He looked at Qin Daoxian and said puzzled, Ahem, why do you go so far as to hide your strength? Seemingly thinking of something, Jiang Taiyuan said to himself, yes, you are also a family cultivator, you must be like me, and you don't trust the current sect master of Qianyuan sword sect. Said, Jiang Taiyuan showed a smile on his face, Dao Yu Chen, you and I are unlikely to be killed. In the eyes of this old man, the interests of your Qin family and my Jiang family are the same. Is there a big mountain on top of it? While speaking, the injury Jiang Taiyuan had just suffered has healed. Chen Daoxian looked at Jiang Taiyuan, who had returned to normal, and roughly judged the opponent's strength in his heart. This person is stronger than Yu Yugong and weaker than Yun Kuan. After the battle of the Qingwei Taoist faction, Chen Daoxian also had a vague estimate of his own strength. According to his estimation, with all his strength should be slightly higher than Yunkin's, but he is generally at the same level. This kind of strength basically belongs to the strongest level under the world realm. Generally speaking, Yuaning Jinjuan will choose to break through to the world realm after the fusion of the three laws reaches 50%. Those who have a 70% degree of fusion of the three laws, such as Chen Daoxian, belong to the very few. In terms of the Dao law, he should be a lot stronger than Yun Kuan. But in terms of cultivation, he is much lower than Yun Kuan. Although he has the blessing of the 6th grade good fortune White Lotus, it is only a sufficient amount of mana, and the quality is still a lot worse. Coupled with the lack of physical realm, Chen Daoxian's strength is only in the middle of Yun Kuan's strength. But who is Yun Kuan? The second powerhouse of the Qingwei Taoist faction and the top 3 of the Xianqing Taoist League. Chen Daoxian is comparable to such a top powerhouse, and it can be said that he is already at the same level as Qin Zhan before he broke through the world. With his strength, let alone beheading Jiang Taiyuan on the spot, there would be no problem in torturing him. In fact, with Chen Daoxian's strength, it's not impossible to kill Jiang Taiyuan, but the premise is that Jiang Taiyuan doesn't run away. Because Jiang Taiyuan, like Chen Daoxian, is good at the laws of space, and the other party's consciousness is stronger than Chen Daoxian, and the teleport distance is much farther than Chen Daoxian. Seeing that Chen Daoxian didn't speak, Jiang Taiyuan thought that his words had moved the other party, and continued to persuade him. Outsiders say that Qin Zhan is the genius of Qianyuan sword sect, but in the eyes of this old man, you have much more potential than him. As long as you join our camp, with your potential, you will become the leader of our camp in the future. Your faction? Chen Daoxian sneered, the camp of the third elder Yi Yin? That's right. Jiang Taiyuan nodded and said, but it's not Yi Yin's camp, it's the family's cultivator's camp. Fei Chenxue is doing the opposite, supporting the loose cultivator, disregarding the family cultivator's interests, and letting this woman serve as the sect master of the Qianyuan sword sect. My family cultivator will be one in the future. Day is worse than day. You must have seen the war with the Xianqing Dao League this time. Wan Xinghai's scattered cultivation has become a general trend. If the monks of our family do not unite to resist, there will be no place for me to stand in the future. After all, how can the number of cultivators in our family be compared with the large number of loose cultivators? Chen Daoxian could hear that Jiang Taiyuan's words were from the bottom of his heart. However, he remained unmoved. Because what he cares about is not the family cultivator and the loose cultivator, the only thing he has always cared about is the Chen family cultivator. As for other family cultivators, loose cultivators, and even the sect disciples of Qianyuan Jianzong, in Chen Daoxian's eyes, there is no difference. Gu Lin. After saying these words, Jiang Taiyuan has been paying attention to Chen Daoxian's complexion, and he found that Chen Daoxian's complexion has not changed. Gradually, Jiang Taiyuan's heart sank completely. Never mind. He sighed, it seems that today, the old man is very hard to stay. In Fei Chengshu's camp, there was already a character like Qin Zhan with incredible strength and potential, and Chen Daoxian's potential was even more terrifying, so their family's cultivator camp simply stopped playing. Just surrender to Fei Chenxue and the others. However, how could Jiang Taiyuan be reconciled? Next moment, I saw Jiang Taiyuan waved his hand, took out a set of array plates from the storage ring, and then threw it into the sky. The array disc spun around and flew to the sky. Immediately afterwards, an upside-down bowl-shaped light curtain enveloped the entire sky. Chen Daoxian looked around. The area covered by the light curtain of this formation was not very large, only covering a diameter of about 100 miles. As for the immortal city of extreme night below, it was specially isolated by Jiang Taiyuan. Come to think of it, the head of the Jiang family didn't want his Jiang family's nest to be destroyed. 7th Order Array Plate. Jiang Taiyuan, you really surprised me. The 7th Order magic weapon should logically be the treasure used by the Heavenly Venerate. Although with the background of the Jiang family, he was not surprised that there were several 6th Order instruments in his hand, but the 7th Order instruments should not appear in the hands of the Jiang family. It can be said that this thing does not even exist in a major sect like the Qingwei Taoist sect. Qianyuan Jianzong owns pure yang immortal artifacts, which are completely the shadow of their ancestors. In addition, Qianyuan Jianzong does not even have a 7th Order magic weapon. It can be seen that the preciousness of the 7th Order instruments. Although Chen Dao Xian has a component of a 7th Order magic tool, the Heavenly Secret Talisman, this is only one of the 7th Order magic tool components of the set. A mere Heavenly Mystery Talisman itself is not a 7th Order magic tool. However, what Jiang Taiyuan took out was a complete 7th Order array. This can't help but make Chen Dao Xian wonder, where did the other party's 7th Order magic weapon come from? If it was said that Qingwei Dao sent him to the Jiang family, Chen Dao Xian would be the first to not believe it. If the Qingwei Taoist sect really had this treasure, it could still be given to the Jiang family, and it would have been placed on the Tai Immortal Pond. It is foreseeable that if the Qingwei Taoist faction uses the 7th Order formation to block the Tai Immortal Pond, Chen Dao Xian and Qin Zhan may not be able to win the Tai Shin Shui Fairy Pond. This formation is called Sumerus 9 Palaces Formation. I also invite fellow Taoists to taste it. Jiang Taiyuan said with a smile. As a 6th Order formation mage, although Chen Dao Xian could not see the flaws in this formation, he could also faintly perceive that this large formation was constantly absorbing the spiritual energy of the Jiang family's spiritual veins. In other words, Jiang Taiyuan did not need to spend his own mana to activate this great formation. In this way, Jiang Taiyuan will be able to exert the power of this great formation to a greater extent. Sumerus 9 Palaces Formation. In this way, this is still a space-like formation. Chen Dao Xian looked at the formation, then looked at Jiang Taiyuan. It's just that I don't understand why Jiang Daoyu locked you and me in this formation. Because only in this way, I can maximize the power of this formation, gossip less, suffer. Jiang Taiyuan's expression was cold. An array flag appeared in his hand, and he waved it fiercely. Next moment, countless space-sharp blades slashed towards Chen Dao Xian. With Qin Daoxuan's attainments in the space law, he recognized at a glance that this is a method only available at the high level of the space law, space strangulation. It's just compared to the space strangulation displayed by the monks. The scope and power of the space strangulation in this Sumerus 9 Palaces array seems to have improved by a level, and the frequency is also more terrifying than the space strangulation performed by the Yuanying Zhenjuan. Seeing that the sharp space blade of Tumi was continuously slashing on Qin Daoxuan's life armor, and his body was beheading and retreating, Jiang Taiyuan laughed wildly. Chen Dao Xian, how does the Shumi Jiugong formation feel? Each of these space-sharp blades is close to the attack power of the top true monarch. With so many, I see how long you can last. It's a pity that this Sumerus 9 Palace formation has 9 types of offensive, and now you can only taste this one. Jiang Taiyuan saw that Chen Dao Xian supported Sumerus 9 Palaces for so long, and even judged the rank of the other party's life spirit armor. What about the 6th Order high-grade spirit armor? With so many space blades, see how long you can last. Jiang Taiyuan thought to himself. In front of Chen Dao Xian, the 3 laws are constantly circling, or turned into shields, or turned into sharp swords, constantly resisting the attack of space-sharp blades. Otherwise, just relying on the spirit armor of life, sooner or later, will be broken by this endless space-sharp blade. While resisting the attack, Chen Dao Xian said, it's not just that I can taste one, but the spiritual veins of your Jiang family can't support this formation. Hearing this, Jiang Taiyuan's expression froze. I see how hard you can be. After all, the attack of the space blade is even more violent. Below, countless auras were drawn to the sky by the formation plate, and a column of spiritual energy was formed between the formation plate in the sky and the underground spiritual veins. Die. Seeing that Qin Daoxian was still struggling to support, Jiang Taiyuan's face flushed. This is the means by which his Jiang family presses the bottom of the box. Apart from him, none of the cultivators of the Jiang family know about it, including the other two Yuanying true monarchs of the Jiang family. The so-called trump card is that when everyone does not know it, it can play its greatest role at a critical moment. If Qin Daoxian knew that the Jiang family had a 7th order array, he would not have rushed directly to the Jiang family's base camp. However, he was not unprepared. The 9 palaces must form a light curtain outside the formation. A late-stage cultivator of the purple mansion in a black robe was staring at the sky with a burning gaze. This person was actually the clone of Qin Daoxian who stayed in the immortal city of extreme night before rushing into the Jiang family immortal palace. Compared with the main body, the strength of his clone is so big that it is difficult to calculate with reason. But at this moment, this clone is the key to Qin Daoxian's breakthrough. Now, the Jiang family stared blankly at Qin Daoxian and Jiang Taiyuan, who were shrouded in a light curtain. The Jiang family only saw that their spiritual veins were constantly being drawn from spiritual energy by an unfamiliar large formation. Jiang Taihao was another nascent soul monk of the Jiang family. On weekdays, there are only Jiang Taiyuan and Jiang Taihao in the Jiang family. The battle between Qin Daoxian and Jiang Taiyuan happened too fast. As soon as Jiang Taihao, who was in retreat, was driven out, he saw the Shumi Jiugong formation shrouding the Jiang family's floating immortal mountain. And he was sure that this formation was not the formation of the Jiang family. Since it is not the formation of the Jiang family, it is the formation arranged by the enemy. Thinking of this, Jiang Taihao looked at the pillar of spiritual energy in the air and thought about it. I saw him flying into the air, and his divine consciousness enveloped the entire immortal city, and he said to all the monks, "Is there a 4th order or higher array mage present?" You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.